What's up, everybody? Hello, hello, and welcome to Blood and Popcorn. My name is TJ Rotell. This is the world premiere of Blood and Popcorn. Very exciting. With me here on Blood and Popcorn, I have the lovely and talented mistress of horror, the Demogorgon herself, Denise Pantoja. Say hello to the people at home, Denise.
Hello, people at home. Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
And as well as Denise, we have our good friend and collaborator, a big old horror lover himself, the one, the only, the Mr. Glenn Akers. Glenn, say hello to the people at home.
Hello. Great to be here. Can't wait to get into this.
Yes, as not can I.
Hi,
So
Magnum.
yeah, yes. Hello everyone. Hello everyone in chat. Hello. I think I see a Magnum Pie in there is in there. It's a really exciting night. You'll have to forgive the
Oh gosh.
overexcitement here because I gotta say, the three of us have been putting this show together for a couple of years now. We actually had a different iteration of this show that was a pure podcast, that was meant to be a watch along riff tracks model, and we recorded like 13 episodes of that before we realized that we captured the audio from the movie with the mic audio, so we couldn't use any of it. And then we tried again, and we just kept botching it, and finally we got here, and here we are. And
Here we are.
man, it's really exciting to be here. What we did for this episode, our big premiere episode, is we went through the Leprechaun franchise, well, the first five movies of the Leprechaun franchise:
Happy St.
Leprechaun
Patty's Week.
1, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, and then right to space with Leprechaun 4, and then back into the hood for Leprechaun 5. So Denise, tell us a bit about what we're going to be doing here on Blood and Popcorn. Give us a little run through about how we're going to be seeing things go.
Okay. First off, horror lover. I see how you might have heard that incorrectly. Horror.
Sorry, it's
So
it's
we
the accent. It's all horror. I can't get that second R sound out there. It just fades right off. It
horror.
just disappears in the mist.
Eh. What are you gonna do? Okay. So we're gonna talk about 1 through 5. I'm gonna give us some information about each movie as we progress. We're gonna probably talk about some of the more memorable moments or frustrating, if you will. Um, this was born of a group of friends who love horror movies, who love the good, the bad, the ugly, and it's a true appreciation for this genre. So we put together a ranking system because first off, whoever got there, whoever made it, whoever got it distributed, like those are two huge successes. So we don't want to take that away from anybody. We just want to talk about how each piece spoke to us. So we have this really great ranking system. TG, do you want me to go through what we're going to be like the specifics that we're going to be ranking on?
Yeah, why not? Let's
Okay.
give them a peek so that they could play along at home. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe you folks in chat, maybe you wanna tweet at us what your score was for these movies if you go back and watch them, or we're going to be announcing what we're doing in advance. So if you want to try to
True.
watch that movie throughout the week, participate in the conversation in chat, give us your take on it. Maybe we can start doing some polls and stuff in chat where we can
Oh
see
yeah.
who liked it and who didn't. So we want this to be a big audience participation show. So
Yes.
yeah, I think tell them at home,
Yeah.
T, how they can D, or how they can rank their tell them at home, you person that's speaking right now.
Oh, the cat just hit her head.
Oh,
Okay, so we have 10 categories. Epic. Epic. Thank you so much for that.
thank you,
You are
Epic.
the best. Sick. So we have 10 categories, and it's really hard to break it down. We are also all film people, and we know not everybody is. So we tried to take as much as we could of what we know and then kind of like spit it out in a digestible way for anybody. Excuse me. So we have script, we have acting, we have special effects. That includes any visual effects, that includes creature effects as well, production design, wardrobe, music, that includes score and any theme songs that might be present.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about a theme song when we get to Leprechaun 5.
Sound, so like sound editing, sound effects, things like that. Camera and lighting, which of course, if you are familiar with film at all, camera, grip, and lighting they're all working in tandem. Lighting points the lights. The grip department actually directs the lights, so they'll be putting up the flags. They help the camera see the best. Sometimes, hopefully, that's usually the goal.
Yeah, I think
it's
it was
not always
like
the
I think
best
it was
thing possible.
described to me when I was doing grip work in the G&E department. It was like, and Glenn, you might know the proper way to say this because you've done a lot more on-set stuff than we have, I think, at this point. But electric provides the light, grips shape the light.
Yeah.
That's the way to
exactly.
And they both report to the DP who's designing the overall look of the
exactly. The DP's like, this is how I want it to look, and then the other two departments work together to create that look. So we're putting camera and lighting together for our purposes. Editing, you don't realize it until you see something that's really, really bad, how important editing really is. And it is an art, and it is something that I specifically have really gotten into in the past few years in like my work at Geek and Sundry. I've got a new appreciation for that. So I'm really excited about that. And then overall, we decided to have that last category, number 10, be enjoyability. Because as we'll talk about later, some things will score high in certain areas, but overall, did we enjoy it individually? So we'll each be scoring this individually. And some will score low, but it's like, no, I still really enjoyed it. I still really liked it. It still is something that I would go back and see. So if you've seen these before, feel free to play along. If not, spoiler alert, we're going to be spoiling everything for you for Leprechauns 1 through 5.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, Poppy. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello to everyone in chat. 29ers, the Familia.
Yeah, baby.
Everyone's rolling through the devout. We got people from everybody. The isolation group. We've got the whole crew's rolling out tonight. It's fantastic. Well, before we get started, we've got a couple channel-wide announcements, things that you may or may not have known or might be not used to. We updated the 29 channel 29 chat commands. So you've got what's all that there if you want to find out more about channel 29, and the new Discord command is live. So if you want to join the community to chat while we're not on stream here and see what's going on a little behind the scenes on the shows here on channel 29, that's the place for you. If you want to participate in some of the show-wide stuff, for instance, Blood and Popcorn here, go ahead and drop in some of those commands. They'll give you some information on the show and who's on it and all that good stuff right there. And that's all below in the About section as well. Obviously, our alerts are live when you donate, or not donate, when you subscribe or do bits. That'll do something. It'll happen. Stuff will happen. Things. Following will happen. It's very exciting. It's all very exciting, and just really excited to be here. D, Glenn, are you ready? Are you ready to get in to the mix? We got 5 movies to cover.
We're finally
Yes, definitely.
Tonight
definitely.
we did it. We did it.
Oh, Epic!
Oh my God, Epic coming through.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Epic, thank you so much, and also a big thank you, Lauren themselves. Lauren themselves, our mod, our currently leader of mod. Thank you, Lauren, for being in here and keeping chat safe for us. And everyone, I built in the subscriptions they just keep coming. I built another thing. This is our first official subscription, official mod, and Lauren was kind enough to offer. Lauren's fantastic friend we met from our days at Geek and Sundry. And just happy to have them here. And it's so funny. It just keeps going, the subscription thing. But yeah, so I have this new command in chat that when you see it go up, if you can follow the directions, and let's show our mod squad some love, part of Team 29, by throwing some hearts in the chat. Subscription.
Oh, yeah.
Epic's still going strong.
They are the best.
Epic pushing hard into the paint tonight on the gift sub side. In Epic, I think I wrote it down in like a fever dream the other night of what I was gonna call it. Yeah, coming soon. Epic Fails Wall of Winning is going to be a panel below dedicated to our top 5 gift sub folks, and that's inspired by our dear friend Epic Fail Natural One, who we've known through our days at Fractured Roll, part of the family, part of the 29ers, and a big supporter of the channel. We very much appreciate it. Never expected, always appreciated. Thank you so much, Epic, and everyone who supports the channel by following, by sharing on socials, all that good stuff. We love you all. Glenn, Denise.
Wait.
Denise, no.
One more announcement.
One more. What is it?
Or just a big thank you, huge thank you to Matt Olson, who is an unbelievable artist. He did this art. I love it. It's so exciting. I know you have him on the channel, but I want to take every opportunity I can to shout his name. He did our Relics and Rarities art. He did some art for We're Alive Frontier Season 2. He is so good. I love him.
Yeah,
Matt Olson, the flying stylus on.
I think it's just Flying Stylus, isn't it?
Flying Stylus, not the Flying Stylus. Let me double check.
Yeah. We're going to be putting Matt's website down in the About section as well on the next round of changes we do. But yeah, I love Matt. Matt's fantastic. Go hire Matt to do all your art. Matt's the best. Matt's number one. And then Stephen Gong did our overlay.
And Stephen Gong did the overlay. Love, yes, just
vision.
Flying Stylus. Yeah.
Yeah, it took our amazing art, this amazing art that Matt did, and turned it into an awesome set of assets for the show. So thank you to Stephen Gong as well.
Love Stephen.
And yeah, that's it. That's all the announcements. That's all the hoopla in the front. Let's get into it. Let's do it. Leprechaun 1, aka Leprechaun. Denise, tell us about what we're about to watch here.
Leprechaun is a film from 1993. It's an American horror comedy directed by Mark Jones. We will get more into what else you have seen Mark Jones do. Starring Warwick Davis, who is phenomenal. Obviously, he's just an amazing actor. If you have not seen Willow, please see it, because it's got my heart.
Good.
No, it's got TJ's heart. A young Jennifer Aniston, actually very shortly before Friends came out. Let's see. Production company and distribution company were Trimark Pictures. Who knew? Only about 92 minutes long. It's between IMDb and Wikipedia. It's either $900,000 or $1 million for the budget, and it exceeded expectations. I would imagine, because it made at the box office alone $8.6 million.
Wait, what is this? Epic is saying?
What? I don't know. I was.
My girlfriend is in that one. What?
Leprechaun 1? Really?
Is Jennifer Aniston your girlfriend?
Oh God! I was like, wait, what?
Or hold on, what? Oh shoot, that's right.
Koya.
Oh,
Oh, Epic. I mean, I don't know, man. Who knows? Well, you could be rolling deep. I don't know. I'm not here trying to,
all right.
I'm judging.
I'm judging you.
So exciting stuff. So we watched these back to back, 5 movies in a row on St. Patrick's Day while drinking copious amounts of Guinness and Jameson. But we did it. We got through it.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of a party, basically. We did a Zoom thing where a couple people showed up, some friends that we know from the horror community, and watched with us, and it was a good day. But Leprechaun 1, like you said.
Now Mark Jones also wrote it.
And who was Denise? Who was the lead? There were the other male leads in it. The one kid from Adventures of Babysitting, the other dude from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and the guy from Summer School, right? Who were the other stars of this magnum opus of a genre film?
So the young buff painter was Ken Olant, who actually very shortly after this started an amazing career in film finance and distribution. Sold his company in 2000. Did really well. So he concentrated on being behind the camera and was doing A-OK.
Subscription!
Ozzy was played by Mark Holton, and that he was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. He was in A League of Their Own. He was in The Naked Gun. Like, he's been in a ton of stuff. You will definitely recognize him.
Thank you, Lauren, for the sub.
Woo woo woo.
I'm gonna fix that. I don't know how to fix that yet, but I'm gonna get your sub moving forward because you're a mod, and that's you don't have to pay to watch this channel. I'm gonna take care of that. I gotta figure that out. You know, Lauren.
I know.
Still trying to figure this all out, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Yes, you definitely should not pay for this. Not that it's not worth it, but because you know what I mean. Anyway,
Yeah.
So Robert Hy Gorman was the kid who was also in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. TJ had a bit of I don't want to skip ahead too much, but TJ had a bit of an issue with this kid's attitude in the movie.
Yeah. Usually attitude like that results in death in the film. Like you don't, I mean,
It
but
was
with
really
that said,
surprising.
We'll talk about it when we start going through the film.
It's true. That's true.
But,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to skip ahead.
No, it's okay. Hey, listen, it's an exciting night, Denise. We're all excited. Everybody's excited. We're having a great time. We got a couple drinks flowing here. I got a bag of wine. I pulled it right out of the box.
I have popcorn.
You got popcorn. We all
buns?
have blood pumping
Face
through our
buns?
veins, except for Glenn, who's been dead for 14 years.
Welcome back, Glenn.
Glenn, now Glenn, before we get really started, Glenn has a rich, a bit about Glenn, a rich filmic knowledge, both from his studies in school and his time on set behind the camera, and also
studies is a generous term.
Studies, yeah. Parties, studies, whatever it was. But Glenn, when we started hanging out with Glenn and really getting to know him, and we all realized how much we loved horror, Glenn brought this like very, very interesting dynamic to this little trio here, because Denise and I, we worked our way through the Hollywood video horror section. Like we had goals, you know what I mean? Like, we watch horror movies, what we fucking do. When Glenn got here, he opened up a whole new section of the genre that we didn't know about. Some of it
sometimes frightening.
Some of it belonging in like the back, like where like they don't tell you about, but if you know, there's like a secret section. But we're really excited to have Glenn. The way this is going to kind of be rolling out is every week moving forward after this, one of us is going to pick a movie like book club style, and check out the movie, watch it together. Once a month, we'll probably do like a watch along for people who have Amazon Prime, and we'll be doing that running commentary section of this. But yeah, really excited for Glenn's picks because he brings a lot of foreign horror that we really didn't know about into the mix. A lot of crazy deep cut indie stuff, cultish stuff, and just weird shit. Like it's really exciting. So Leprechaun. What year did you say it came out in, D? What was the
93.
93. I was.
It feels very 80s.
Oh yeah, it's got
a
strong 80s vibe coming through. Like you said, a young Jennifer Aniston. I still don't remember what the movie was about. Like I don't know if we missed that or if they never went into it. But it's like some guy a group of characters show up to a house to fix it up with the assumed intent of either flipping it or living in it, and things immediately start to go awry.
Well, it's her father, right? So, okay, we start off with, Grady, coming from Ireland. He stole a pot of gold from a leprechaun, right? He stole a pot of gold from a leprechaun.
Fucking first mistake. That's your first mistake.
Leprechaun's after him. Well, I mean, listen, he wanted the gold. What are you going to do? It's there.
Yeah, that's true. You're not lying.
Then he traps the leprechaun in a crate by placing a 4-leaf clover on top. Like, I mean, it's great. It's amazing. Leprechaun falls asleep for 10 years. And then we have, it's interesting here on Wikipedia. It's saying that the dude and Jennifer Aniston, her father, rents the house for the summer. And then these contract workers are coming in to repaint the farmhouse while they're there. That's an odd time to repaint the house. Usually you want to do it before people rent it. But you know what? I'm not a homeowner. I'm not going to judge.
Nope.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So this is where
I've never painted a house. I've never personally rented a summer home and then painted it. So what do I know?
Listen, I'm no doctor.
Yeah, I'm no doctor.
Also never painted one red and blue.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was that you know what that felt like, Glenn? That felt like the art department had paint left over from
Yep.
another show, and they
Uh-huh.
said, "Well, we have to get rid of this. It's going to go bad anyway. Just use whatever paint you want out of this box." And they went with
Yep.
red and blue.
Red
Bold,
and blue, the brightest red and the
bold
brightest blue.
choice. Like you're talking like Dutch style, like two little Dutch figures in your front lawn with a windmill, bright colors, like crazy bright blue and crazy bright red, and just not a good choice, not a good look, you know, if you're going to be painting a house in the 80s.
And then there's a paint mishap.
Oh yeah, we do have a hilarity immediately begins to ensue, Denise, and I'll tell you why. We're trying to lighten the mood here. We're trying to create a little bit of levity before the storm that is Warwick Davis's performance as the Leprechaun. But we don't. The nice thing about this movie is they don't waste a shit ton of time through air exposition or character development. It's a lot of like shove you through the first 15 minutes. Here is everyone, and now the Leprechaun's out and
Yeah.
strap in.
And it works. And you know what? Epic has the best description there. Irish fairy escapes from crate, goes on gory quest for his 100 stolen coins.
Yeah, that's it.
Gory quest.
It is.
That's exactly.
Hearts, stars, and
exactly-
horseshoes,
exactly
clovers,
right.
and blue moons.
What's up,
Lots
Art
of golden
Hard?
rainbows, and my red balloons. Fucking points to you, Magnum Pie, for fucking rhyming that. That was amazing. That was amazing because that was very leprechaunish until he decides to stop rhyming,
Yeah.
which is we'll talk
Well,
about
it's a
that
That's
little
later.
inconsistent. You know, sometimes he's rhyming, sometimes he's not. But you know, it's their prerogative. Who am I to stop them? They're a mythical being. Well, you know,
Listen.
they do what they want to do.
If a unicorn wants to slap a hat on its fucking horn and call me Sally, what am I gonna? I'm sorry, I totally had nothing there. So
It's all right, Denise.
It's
I was
okay.
there. The visual I was creating in my head. But I have to ask, just to dive deeper into your your
Hat on the
your
horn.
description there. Was it a giant, like a large hat? Was it a hat that had a
no,
hole
it's a
in it?
mini hat.
So it's a tiny hat. So it just sits atop the point
It's just
of the
and
horn,
it's like
ever
kind of-
spinning around and moving. About.
yes,
Yep,
yes.
That makes, okay, so now the image is complete, and then I just see him looking you dead in the face and going, Sally. And then that's, but it's a misunderstanding. Like he thought he went to school with you, and it turns
Sally.
out you went to South and he went to North, and but it's no big deal. You end up going out anyway. And
But
it's
I had
it
a
was
crush
beautiful
on him
romance.
from afar anyway, so it's
Yeah,
all
you
good.
saw him at the Unicorn football game, and you know, star quarterback. What are you gonna do? But yeah. So like the thing I love about the Leprechaun franchise. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The thing I love about most of the Leprechaun franchise is that it's just fun. The unicorn doesn't like it when you mention how small the hat is. Is that it like the first one was made as a lot of horror movies are with real intent, like some like and that's why like when we go through the scores later at the end of the night, like that movie ranks highest on my card because it's a real movie. It's a theatrical released movie. It had a very small budget. I think it was like $900K on that budget, and it looks a lot richer than that. You know, like a great trick if you're ever producing a movie, especially a horror movie, and you don't have a ton of money and you have to get it under a certain number, start cutting locations. That's the first thing you do. Cut locations, strip those locations down until you're at your bare bones, and that you can still tell the story. And they did this to great effect. They had a beat up old house. They probably did it, you know, they probably had it on some property where they were going to knock that thing down anyway. So they probably got it for crazy cheap, and they were able to fuck it up and do what they needed to do to it. So like
Flip a house in a neighborhood like that.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That's neither here nor there.
But you know, I mean, they're really fun, and as the movies progress, they start to take the same direction that the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise did, and that eventually the Friday the 13th did, and Texas Chainsaw, like all these iconic horror movies, when they reach critical mass on popularity, they have to adjust to that because you can only be a crazy killer so many times before it starts to get boring. And I think that monsters like Freddy Krueger and Jason and Leatherface and Michael Myers, like, well, Michael Myers actually I don't think ever really crested into comical. I think that pretty much stayed hard serious for the whole time. But like Freddy and Leprechaun do that well. Like in this first movie, the Leprechaun's a scary being. Like he's vicious, he's dangerous. Like he's small in stature, but he's got a lot of magic that he can wield, and like nasty teeth and like vicious claws. Dude, the thing about the Leprechaun movies that I don't ever understand why they couldn't get this done in a better way, but it's like the facial makeup they used on Warwick Davis was always so good, but the hand prosthetics got progressively worse over the movies, almost like they had the one set from the original and they just kept patching it up. And I was always like, I don't really understand that decision, but sure. But yeah, what did you guys think? Like, I know you'd both seen Leprechaun in the past, but like, what were your going back to it probably years later? I mean, we typically watch them every year on St. Patrick's Day, but like what were your takeaways?
Glenn, would you like to go first?
From the first one, just the first one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the first one.
It had been a really long time since I had seen it. I forgot how much I actually enjoyed the first one. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, I remember it being campier than it was, which I like. This one, I think, was probably your most like straight horror movie with some comedy sprinkled in, which isn't the case for the rest of them.
A lot of comedy sprinkled in after the first one. A lot of comedy.
Yeah, for sure. And then, yeah, you might have to come back to me on that one.
Okay. I, like you, I can't remember if we saw it last year.
I like you too, Denise.
Thanks.
You're all right.
I can't remember when the last time I saw it was, but sitting down, looking at it from, because when we go back to real quick, when TJ and I, the very first time we moved out of California, we were in a very, very small town with not a whole lot to do.
Oh, yeah.
So we decided, this was a long time ago, Hollywood Video was still around. We decided, and Blockbuster, let's go through, because Hollywood Video had an excellent horror movie collection, like a lot of indie horror. We was like, fuck it, let's go through and watch every single one of them and talk about, because we're filmmakers, we want to know, these people have got money. They got money to make it. They got distribution. We want to know everything about all of these movies. So we started sort of a similar thing where a ranking system. Okay, what worked in this movie? What did we actually like? And we did this for like dozens and dozens of movies. And it was really a wonderful, wonderful thing. So sitting down, looking at Leprechaun, I was actually really surprised at how good the first one is. Like if you're looking at it from a script, storyline perspective, the acting was good.
Yeah.
Well, the premise may be ridiculous. That's neither here nor there because it's horror. Usually they are.
Right.
But looking at it, the lighting was really good. The cinematography was really good. Like they did things so well. Production design. I loved the costume design. I thought it was perfect for the time. Acting. There were a couple of things that weren't as up to par, but overall, for the script that they were doing and the situations that they were in, it was all very believable. Nothing was too over the top. So I personally was really pleasantly surprised. I was very pleased when I walked away from that one, which only set me up for disappointment for the rest.
Oh yeah, I mean, like the acting in that movie was on par, equal then or greater to most of the genre films of that era. So it was like there was an expectation. Like you didn't you put any of the classics, any original films, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Chainsaw, like you stick any of those side by side with Leprechaun, and the acting, the quality of the film will all be very close. Like the one thing that those other movies had that Leprechaun didn't have was basically a bigger budget for a bigger location. You know, I mean, I think Halloween was like Carpenter's like student film, wasn't it? It wasn't like his, or was that right out of college that Carpenter made Halloween?
Can't wait to get into those.
But yeah, like, but the, you know, I think it's a well-made movie for the time. Like they did the best they could, and I would argue they did exceptionally well for a budget of that size.
They did, for sure. And like you said, Denise, I think out of all of them, it probably has the best lighting, cinematography of any of the five. And you're right. Yeah, the acting was good. Even Jennifer.
Do you have something against Jennifer, Glenn?
I didn't like
Is
Friends.
it coming out now?
I didn't watch
fair
Friends,
enough.
man. I never got into it. I was never one to jump in with the popular trends though, so maybe I'll go back
Yeah,
and watch
I enjoyed
someday,
it when I
like,
saw it. I didn't have anything against it.
It came after Seinfeld, so that's...
See, and gasp, I don't like Seinfeld.
I also do not. I have not watched Seinfeld. I have not done it.
So that's interesting.
Oh, dude, epic! Talking
Anyways.
about Season of the Witch. I love Season of the Witch. I think it's
Season of the Witch.
it's one of the best Halloween movies that there are. It's just not a Halloween movie.
I honestly thought you were talking about the George Romero movie, and then clearly you're not.
Oh, I was. I mean, I was going to Halloween 3.
3, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, and I like. Listen, we don't need to stick to a strict structure here, but I feel like, and I don't know if this can be confirmed. If only we had small hand computers with unlimited access to free information on the internet. But like, Leprechaun 4, and this was confirmed, felt like the Halloween 3 of the franchise, which felt like someone had a script that needed to get made, and they said, you know what would really work here is if we put the word Halloween in front of it.
Yeah.
And the film Season of the Witch was then created in the Halloween franchise. I think it was actually, though, Glenn, maybe you might know this off the top of your head, but I feel like I read this somewhere that it was originally supposed to be part of an anthology series that John Carpenter was going to do. I could be making all this up right now, by the way. This is not fucking... Don't take anything you see in the show as historical fact. Do your own research and figure this out. I could be making this up, but I feel like I watched something or saw something that talked about like how Carpenter's original vision for Halloween was going to be an anthology series of movies that took place under this umbrella of John Carpenter's Halloween. And they like for 3, they took that idea and they said, yeah, let's start with this. And they plugged this movie in. With Leprechaun 4, that's exactly what happened. There was a sci-fi script that someone really wanted to make, and they slapped a leprechaun in it instead of a space monster. And that's it. That's the movie. Like, it's like very, very little was changed in that script to make that a Leprechaun movie, because
Are you skipping ahead to 4, TJ?
I just said we don't have to keep it tight, but I wanted to comment on it. Let's go back to 1. I'm sorry I ruined the night for everyone. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
But spoiler, Season of the Witch is, well, to me, good and watchable. And not to spoil anything, but Leprechaun 4 is not.
Oh, wow. I just read that Leprechaun grossed nearly 15 million in sales in VHS and DVD formats.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of these 80s and 90s movies found their home. Like, sure, you did a theatrical release because why not make those dollars? But yeah, the home video market completely changed the game for horror. It arguably helped it thrive in the 80s and 90s. Because who doesn't want to go, like, you go to Blockbuster on a Friday night with your family or your people, and you're gonna get like a funny movie or a romantic movie, but you always get a horror movie. Like if you were part of my crew, like, it didn't matter what you got, someone picked up a horror movie, And a lot of times you just had all this great cover art. Like that's one of the reasons I had Matt
DEFCON 4.
Exactly, yeah. One of the reasons I had I had Matt Olson put this art together the way he did is because that was one of the things that always drew me to horror movies was cover art. Like box art to me, as working for 3 years at a Blockbuster Video in Culver City, was just such a passion for me. Like I love hand drawn art. I love hand drawn cover art. And that's what inspired this whole piece for Blood and Popcorn. But yeah, man, who doesn't love picking up a horror movie on a Friday night and getting your scare on,
oh, for sure,
getting your fright night on a bit.
How many times were you burnt when you picked it up because of purely cover art, and then you're like, this had nothing to do with that?
Dude, there's some, listen.
Again, DEFCON 4.
I don't understand the DEFCON 4 joke. Am I missing it?
It had awesome cover art.
It was a movie. I don't think
weird.
I ever saw that.
Yeah. Well, this keeps explaining who I am.
And this is why you're here, Glenn, to teach us about those movies that exist in the dark recesses of the genre, like Hell Comes to Frogtown and House Soup. You know, like this is this is why you're here, my dude.
Or Evil Dead 2, like that wasn't in the movie. The skeleton face, like that wasn't.
Yeah, it is really.
Or Dead Alive, when like that wasn't in the movie either.
It's like when they started doing those fucking trailers, like for Clueless, of all that shit that was not in the movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't. Misdirection is.
It's not a fun game to play.
It has no place. It has no place in.
But there are some companies today that distribute genre films that have taken that concept of artistic deception and wield it to great effect. Like there's a movie that Denise and I produced, micro budget film, like all in. I don't think it broke 100K, but we had like I think a 50K working budget to make the thing, and it went to Wild Eye, I think, but like companies like Wild Eye and Uncorked. Nothing against them. This is a fantastic business model. It really works for them. And shit, I'd love it if one of these guys picked up one of my movies. I'd sell them a movie tomorrow. But they've gotten really good at taking an idea, making really beautiful art around it, and it not really being the movie that it is. Like you can go see Baby Frankenstein on Amazon, and that's the movie that Denise and I did. But it's very much not the movie from the key art. The key art is fucking rad. Who I can't remember if it was Uncorked or Wild Eye, but they did a phenomenal job packaging that movie for sale because it looks awesome. But what it really is a family movie with horror elements. You know, it's E.T. but an automaton. But Wild Eye just made it look like an awesome horror movie.
Speaking of art, I follow Drew Struzan on Twitter.
Who's Drew Struzan? Tell us.
He did so many of the most popular and amazing poster art pieces of the formative years for many of us. He did The Thing.
Okay.
Big Trouble in Little China. He did looks like Coming to America. Like follow him on Twitter because he'll like post throwbacks. The poster art of the 80s and the 90s cannot be beat.
Yeah,
there was just something so grand about everything. It wasn't just a picture. It was art. Yeah. And there were so many levels and layers.
Yeah, some of the one sheets that came out. So good.
Yeah, like the cover for Conan.
Oh, yeah.
Like that hand-drawn where he's just like holding the sword super high and amazing art.
I think he did Back to the Future too.
Our movie has 83% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Are you serious?
That's amazing. Well, Denise and I are both in that as well.
Cheers to that.
You could see some on-screen.
Yeah, congratulations, TJ.
But we made that in my hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania, a few years back. But let's get back to Leprechaun. So I want to say, I want to talk a bit about costume design, because Denise, you've done a bit of that in your day, in the industry. So
actually
obviously,
did it for Baby Frankenstein.
You actually did do it for Baby Frankenstein. You know, like you said, the wardrobe was pretty good. It was pretty good, pretty true to the era it was in. There wasn't a lot of changes because the whole movie takes place effectively over 24 hours. But you know, I think you can speak to in a lot of these movies, you can always point to the title character of the Leprechaun because the wardrobe is phenomenal. It's functional. It looks legit. You believe that's what that dude would be wearing, and it really helps create that character. But when you look at the other non-creature characters in the movie, it all felt very genuine. It felt like it didn't feel like someone just went and got what they wanted out of a closet. It felt intentional,
right, to
the characters, you know, for the time, for the thing. But like Denise, like how do you go about putting together a cohesive look for a movie on a shoestring budget? Because you've done it in the past. What like in 2 minutes, give us some tips and tricks on how you would have gone about getting that done.
Thrifting, number one, hands down. You got to go to, you know, Salvation Army, Goodwill, your local thrift shops, because there you can run the gamut. You can find new items that are trendy, but you can also find vintage items. And when you're looking at characters for a movie, and I sort of just fell into it, like I was just looking for stuff that fit, especially on Baby Frankenstein, because we had such a non-existent budget. Excuse me. And in the end, I ended up actually crafting and creating the characters' looks, because you look at the character, you look at what they're trying to say, you look at their actions in the movie, and it's absolutely part of who this character is. So in finding things that tell you more about this character without you having to know their entire backstory, like that's how you have to look at it. How can I introduce you to this person without you knowing anything more than what you're going to see in the next 90 to 120 minutes? And wardrobe is a really great way to do that.
Yeah. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of we've got a lot of movies to get through here. What else do you want to talk about in Leprechaun 1? I mean, obviously we saw some pretty good effects. The creature effects are consistent throughout. That's something that never changes throughout the first five movies. They're all good. Warwick Davis is great.
They were very limited in visual effects, and what they did worked fine for the time.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but it was believable. It was
because it was all
world we were in.
It was very simple, you know.
Definitely see worse for movies that had the same budget.
Oh yeah.
Or higher budgets.
Or higher budget, that's true too. I mean, coming to mind, like this basically was saying playing on the same par as like Roger Corman movies. And a lot of the time their optical effects were not as good as this was.
Yeah.
Like $1,750,000 movies wouldn't have as good effects as this it did. And then on top of that, like the makeup effects were way better than a lot.
Yeah.
Let's beat the drum that I know we all want to beat. Practical effects will get you so much further.
Oh man.
Agreed. All day. Unless you have $1 billion.
Yeah.
Like you'll never be able to make effects look good on the cheap. Digitally.
Yeah.
Sorry. Even then,
if you have Avengers money, your effects can look like Vision does.
But even then, like there's certain things that need that layer below of practicality to and then like CGI should enhance most things.
Well said. Yes.
Not just take the place of.
Well said.
Yeah. They can play nicely together, but they shouldn't be the sole thing you do. Otherwise, it's just, if you want to get philosophical about it, technically a cartoon.
Yeah. Real talk.
It's just really, really nicely drawn cartoons.
Yeah.
If it's all CGI. But that's me ranting on CGI.
Well, I think overall we all agree, and like I said, we can tally the scores at the end of the show. But I think Leprechaun won overall. It's a solid genre movie. You know, it makes sense for the time. It's a lot of fun to watch. But let's move on to the inevitable sequel. Leprechaun 2.
How far the mighty fall.
It's crazy to me.
And so fast.
That the original movie had
and for more money
less than half the budget of the sequel, and the sequel is just so far behind in quality than the original that it's like it's pretty bad. Like it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
One could say it's hot garbage. One could say that.
And this is a great time to remind everyone at home that like just because, you know, something didn't get made quite as well as it should have or could have doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve its place in horror history, because it does. Like we are all firm believers that all genre art deserves a place. Some movies will not be the best, but they will give other people a door or a foot in to make that next masterpiece. I mean, I'm pretty sure, was it Trey Parker that came out of the trauma camp? Like
Yep.
James Gunn came out of the trauma camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like these people made shit films that they went on, and now you're making Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, so like, don't ever discount a movie because it didn't turn out quite as you'd wanted it to, because a lot of factors get involved. You have a 900,000 movie that makes, what was that number, D? The overall
8.6 million.
And that was theatrical gross. It's an 800% return on your investment.
And then 15 million on VHS and DVD.
A studio is going to see that and immediately step in. And if you've never had a studio take control of your art, there's a formula, and they start plugging shit into the formula, and sometimes it breaks the machine. And I think that's probably what happened here.
And if you've got several, like this one had 3 production companies.
Yeah.
Trimark, Vidmark, and Blue Rider Productions. And the thing too, of course, I said that after I was like, we're here to appreciate all movies. And I just said,
it's a piece of shit.
It was hot garbage. Now, as far as like the enjoyability factor goes, when we were talking about this ranking system, which we're gonna be ranking them, each of the 10 categories has 1 to 10 or 0 to 10, I don't know, and we're ranking them in. Should we say it now, TJ?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell the folks at home how we're gonna do it.
From 0 to 10 kernels.
That's right. And depending on how good the overall score is, that'll determine how filled the popcorn bucket gets. Obviously, 100% overflowing, covered in that delicious, glistening, warm, crimson popcorn butter that we call blood. I mean, at least if you're gonna punch into my veins, the consistency and flavor is probably going to be that of what you'd get in a movie theater. Popcorn bucket butter. But here we are nonetheless, at least for another 6 episodes until time and old age take me. But yeah, that's kind of the ranking system. But D, so like, what do you think went wrong here on the sequel? I mean, because it's not like it's all not great. Like the script it's all
acting.
Yeah.
So the first one was filmed in 91 and it didn't come out until 93, right?
Yeah.
This one it looks like it came out in 95. They did these pretty quickly. I think that there were a number of issues. One, you got a lot of chefs in the kitchen now, right? Yeah. They were probably going back and forth. And that, I've seen it on set. I've seen it on set when TV shows don't give their people something solid to work with, when there's back and forth and there's rewrites and stuff like that. So that could have been an issue. I don't know for sure that that's what it was, but when you have several people involved at a high level, You have the success from the first one. You have them trying to outdo it. It looks like they were unknowns as well, trying to find the next Jennifer Aniston, really, because that was her movie debut. That was her feature film debut.
Oh wow, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's funny because a lot of big A-list celebrities got their start in B horror, like Leonardo DiCaprio was in Critters 2.
Kevin Bacon.
George
Clooney. Yeah, like another Courtney Cox actually was in what was Courtney Cox in?
Did we just see that? Yeah, we were looking through it. No. There was something way earlier than that. It wasn't Nightbreed, right? We were looking through a bunch of movies on like Amazon.
Yeah, but like a lot of big celebrities got their start in these horror movies, and it shows. Like in this, like this is what I say about like Leprechaun 1 and Jennifer Aniston. Obviously, like some of the acting was, A- acting, and then you get to the Jennifer Anistons who bring that A+ performance to even something like a Leprechaun, and it shows. Like it's when you can see a star on the screen when she's on the screen. Like you know that this person's gonna go, provided they don't do something to mess up that path to success. Which is why I was so confused about the dude. I mean, I guess he retired from acting for the most part, but like in the first one, like he was good. Like he was a super attractive guy, like had everything he wanted in an 80s and 90s action star or like romantic lead. Interesting choice to bow out of the spotlight and go behind the camera. But shit, you see that all the time, like Chris Evans wanting to direct. Like artists are artists, man, and when they get tired of the medium they're in, they're gonna want to find another paintbrush to use. Oh, so sure. Respect to that dude for stepping out of the spotlight and giving another person a shot. And then you get into the sequel, and the only good marks you can give it come from Warwick Davis, who's consistent throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And that car.
Oh yeah, the hearse.
The
go-kart.
Yeah.
Yeah, the go-kart was great.
The only positive thing I can say.
So it felt like, and I say this coming from a theater background into a feature film television genre, I know this. It almost felt like it was theater actors making a movie. It was very overdone by the lead actors.
Well, because you've got like in a theater performance, you're playing to the back seat of the theater, so everything is more exaggerated and it's bigger. It's not to say not to say that theater acting is worse or better than film acting. Just no. It's a different style.
Yes, it requires a different type of delivery. There's a restraint that you need to have on film because camera is right here in your face. Then theater, you have to be able to reach the entire building.
Yeah, I mean, like my old manager, David Payne, used to say, when you're on a stage, your people see all of you. When you're in a movie, you got to remember you're on a 40 by 60 screen, and this is all they're seeing, and that's it. And your whole performance has to live right here. And if you're like, like you're not gonna get that nuanced performance. Man, I was watching that back on the delay. That was a series of crazy faces there. But Glenn, why do you think that, so obviously the sequel takes place in LA and is made obvious by the various LA landmarks and things like Hollywood Boulevard and whatnot.
Yeah.
Do you think that impacted, do you think that the location costs might have been what ate up a good percentage of this movie? Like maybe it went union and like the budget, 50% of the budget immediately went to dues. Like, what do you think? Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that's very possible. I mean, I don't know if the first one was union. It might have been. I don't know. I mean, there is a general consensus that like shooting in Hollywood is cheaper, but I think there's also a point where it's not in budget. Like if you're on the lower end of the budget, like shooting in Hollywood isn't cheaper, you should go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because here in Hollywood, everybody will take some sort of fee. whether it's the city or the county or your location or your bar or wherever you're shooting.
Yep.
But like if you're in a smaller place, and I'm sure you could attest to this, like with your independent feature making outside of LA, like places will give you locations, whereas here in LA they'll be like,
they're happy to be a part of it.
we want
Oh yeah.
$1,000 for 10 minutes, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that could have been something to do with it.
I had someone tell me once, talking to, we were talking about shooting a movie in Scranton, and they were like, we can shut down a city block for a few trays of pizza. And it's like, oh, fuck.
Right.
When you still got to fly people out there. You got to, bring some key crews, some key talent out there. But like when you start doing the math, oh man, when you can save $20,000 on police and permits and everything else you need, paying a dude $75 an hour to sit on a motorcycle, is that adds up for a 12-hour day when you got 4, 5, 6 of them. Now, traditionally,
right. OT.
Traditionally, and this is what I do like about working with police and fire, is a lot of times on these movie shoots, they'll send out retired officers or retired firefighters, people who are no longer active in that service. And that's a nice thing. Like that's something giving back to the community and
oh yeah,
kind of raising all tides there, which I think is a really cool thing to do. But it is not cheap, and if you don't have the money to do that, it can eat up a lot of your budget.
Break you.
Yeah.
I'm friends with. Sorry, Denise.
No, you're okay.
Location managers here in Los Angeles, and usually, well, I shouldn't say this part, but whatever. They usually carry some cash on them for making problems go away on wherever they're at if you're on location.
Oh yeah.
So like, because people in LA realize or think that every movie has a shit ton of money to spend, so they'll like let their dog be outside and give it cocaine or whatever. So it's going.
If you need to stop somebody's gardener, give it cocaine.
Exactly.
Or they'll be like, "Oh, it's cocaine. You'll go to jail for that."
It's 10 p.m. It's time to mow my lawn.
You should go to jail for giving the dog cocaine.
Yes.
No one's disagreeing with that, but that's the owner's problem. Right. We're not dealing cocaine to the dog. That's the owner's bad ownership.
I mean, it's basically, this sounds bad, but like people know how to like, on the mildest version, extort money out of a film crew in LA.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hell hath no fury like a HOA with a film crew walking into town.
Oh God.
That you're paying everyone on the street $10,000. Like everyone on the fucking block's getting cash.
There's
a briefcase.
There's a house down your street, Glenn, that always gets filmed at, right? Like
there is. I still don't know what films there.
I think Modern Family and shit filmed there. Like a lot of it's a big show.
I thought Modern Family was done.
No, but like it did. Like I remember hearing that Modern Family filmed some in Van Nuys. Like The Office filmed a bunch in Van Nuys.
So Workaholics.
Yeah.
But it's out like that same house every time.
I know. I still haven't figured out what that is. I should, but
super curious. But so this one, the first one was shot in Saugus because it's like a random house in the middle of nowhere. This one is shot literally right in the smack dab center of Hollywood.
Heart. Yeah, which isn't cheap to permit.
$2 million was the estimated budget, and it made just over $2 million, like 2.2 total.
Yeah, I think
I don't know about like film and DVD,
but profit margin on the theatrical release, like,
and that's if like what? Because there's marketing, there's all sorts of other shit that you have to take out after the fact. I don't know. Yeah, that one didn't do great. So the amazing thing about the Leprechauns is that, at least if you've never seen Friday the 13th, they usually tell you how Jason comes back, like why he's back again. It's because somebody fucking did this and woke him up. He's alive. Leprechaun literally ignores everything that came before it. And you will automatically see this new explanation of where he came from. So this one is what was it, like 1,000 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
He cursed some guy.
Yeah, we saw like some degree of a leprechaun origin story, or not necessarily origin story, but like a flashback from the leprechaun's POV, where the leprechaun had basically tricked a human into service, and he was like, leprechaun was all like, dude, I'll let you go, you just got to help me get this girl. It's my 1,000th birthday, it's on fucking St. Patrick's Day, and it's my time now, and I'm gonna get the girl, and we're gonna be cool, and I'm gonna let you go. And he just like sells him this big bag of awesome, and he's like, fucking A right, man. Like real shitty thing to do. He's like, oh yeah,
I'll be your wingman.
Yeah, like I'll be your wingman for my freedom, even though you're gonna, force this person to be your wife. It's a shitty deal from, this guy's kind of piece of shit. And and he gets his comeuppance when the leprechaun shows him the girl, and it's his daughter.
Dun, dun, dun.
What do you do? You're a loving father in sometime in the Middle Ages, and you're fucking.
You say, "Fuck you, leprechaun."
You're trapped by a leprechaun to serve him, and you got your freedom, and all he needs in return, it's a fairy tale as old as time, is your daughter's hand in marriage. And this is what I think is interesting. This is one of those moments that when you go back and you watch Leprechaun 2. And you realize this should be a massive red flag right at the top of the movie when, the story, the MacGuffin that the leprechaun uses is, if I make her sneeze 3 times, she'll be my wife. And I'm pretty sure that that's all the explanation you get. And he does it, and it's like 1 sneeze. She's like, achoo. And you're like, oh. And he's like, 2 sneeze. And he's like blowing dandelions and shit. And he's like, achoo. And you're like, oh, no. And then the 3rd sneeze comes, and the father says, God bless you, my child. And it's never explained that breaks the curse. If you say God bless you specifically, it breaks the leprechaun's chances of doing it. And he has to wait another 1,000 years. It's not even like he can go find another person in a village. He's got to wait another 1,000 years to do this because someone says God bless you, and he fucks that dude up. Like 12 feet in the air, Darth Vader's his ass and drops him, and he's like, I'd be putting a curse on you now that in another fucking 1,000 years, I'm gonna take your fucking great 100 times granddaughter. Mm-hmm. And then through a really fun opening credit sequence, probably the best part of the movie, we find that this woman has grandchildren, and they all move to America, and then we find our lead protagonist,
heroine,
and her boyfriend, who runs haunted Hollywood car tours in a hearse.
And Morty is probably the best part of the movie.
Yeah, Morty's acting is, I think, the best of the film, other than
the
Warwick
drunken
Davis,
owner of this car tour.
I wonder. I have a very deep wonder. If you've ever been to LA, there's Brendan's Pub. It's a real place, or was. I think it's actually gone out of business. Even it might have gone out of business pre-COVID, but it's gone now. But like that, it's like, it's like a Hollywood. It was at the time a Hollywood hotspot, and like fucking you've got like all these big iconic Hollywood locations. But that shit, it makes you wonder. Like, did they know someone? Did the director go to Brennan's every Friday night for 10 years and then pulled that favor of like, hey, I want to shoot a movie in your bar, and the guy was like, yeah, fucking A right. Like, can I be the bartender? Some shit like that.
I think it was also. I think the '90s was just before things got out of fucking control.
Probably.
Like, it was still, I think it was bad. It was getting bad. But then when you have like fucking Batman, 10, 15 years later, shutting down Hollywood completely and literally paying shop owners thousands of dollars, and you've got 100 PAs lined up side by side so nobody gets in the shot.
Well, that comes down to that location cache that Glenn was talking about. And I think, Denise, if I'm in this, and again, this could be another one of those Hollywood mysteries or Hollywood rumors, but like the story I heard about that, it was like the second Batman, or the third, it was not the original, but it was downtown LA, and all the shops were like, no, man, you can't close down our business for a week. We're going to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the film was like a $200 million budget, and locations just went, all right. and again, I can't speak to this as truth. This is rumor. This is hearsay. Don't come at me. Don't at me.
Don't at me,
Warner Brothers legal department. But the rumor I heard was they went shop to shop cutting $1 million checks and bought an entire city block to fly the bat helicopter down the street. And I remember hearing that and going, oh, that's what's wrong with Hollywood. Now it makes sense why entire, SFX companies had to move to Canada, because when you've got that kind of money, oh my God, like to buy off an entire city at what was probably the cost of 20 or 30 million and not bat an eye, just like, yeah.
For what amounts to probably less than 3 minutes of footage.
Yeah. But then you look at the money that movie made and all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, I guess you got $1 million to throw at a bodega in downtown LA to close for a week, because that's a life-changing amount of money for that company. That's like pay off your mortgage and go on vacation for 6 months.
And I think there were still even some people who said, no, fuck you, I'm not closing.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Well, because you will always have that morals, the morals of the community that are going to dictate against that. But let's talk about, I think maybe we'll take a little 5-minute break, because I have a we'll be right back card, and this is an extended episode. But let's finish talking about episode 2, Revenge of the Leprechaun. Overall, it's disappointing. For whatever reason, it didn't quite live up to the original, which is common in sequels. But what
not everything can be Godfather 2.
Exactly. Or Terminator 2.
A better example.
But like what it did do in a very interesting way, and very, very much likely because of home box office results, like video rental results, is it spawned fucking 6 or 7 more sequels.
Yeah.
So like it did good enough.
Even after not doing well box office wise. Yeah.
That's what home video did, man. And that's what a lot of digital release you see now. Like Amazon Prime is a beacon of fucking hope for the independent filmmaker. Like, because you don't want to say they'll buy anything, but like we live in a different world. Like you no longer have to send print copies of like reels of your film to a theater, pay that shit in advance against the gross of the fucking movie, and like pay 5, 6, 10, 20, whatever your movie's set at, and you can watch it, you can own it. Or if you can't own it, you've got it distributed onto a streaming service like Netflix or Amazon, and that's pretty fucking good too. And that's why you see such a diverse grouping of indie horror out there now, because
Amazon had dozens of new indie horror movies that I was like, I mean, we're set for well over a year of blood and popcorn. We might even have to start doing double features because there's so much out there.
Yeah.
There's a movie called Killer Couch.
Oh, fuck that. Lamageddon. Like there's
Glenn,
Velocipaster.
I just added that. Lamageddon.
What a time to be alive.
It's on my queue too.
What a time to be alive. So what do you guys think? Like overall, final thoughts on Leprechaun 2, like in 60 seconds or less, hard skip across the board, or do you watch it just to complete the set once and force your way through it?
Oh, I would say at least once. I did walk away angry though. Like the cave
Oof.
hurt my heart.
I forgot about the cave.
It made me angry. It just looked like blankets thrown over and
crunchy blankets.
It hurt me. It hurt me as somebody who has done production design on a small level before. As a filmmaker, it hurt my heart.
And you gotta wonder, like it just made me think, with a budget over $2 million, where did it go?
Because like the last half hour of the movie is in the fucking cave.
Dude, like you can go back and watch a web series that Denise and I worked on. I think you worked on it. I know I did.
I did.
Called Legend of Neil, that has better production design at 1/10 of the budget.
with paper, with brown paper,
with literal brown butcher paper and like chicken wire, created a more convincing cave than this place. There's light shining through the back of these walls.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad. It's so bad. And like, fuck, man, it sucks to say it, but like, I don't know. Again, opinion-based show. Don't at me, Warner Brothers, but or not Warner Brothers, a fucking Trimark.
TriStar,
but like
Trimark.
But
like, I don't even know who Trimark is anymore.
You have to wonder where the fucking money went,
So
because sometimes people get money and they don't know what to do with it. Sometimes they say, I need a giant trailer for 10 grand a week. That's a massive RV because I'm very important. It's my first time getting money. And they forget that they have a whole fucking movie to make. Or they're out there paying actors or paying crew. You always want to pay your fucking actors and crew. But you just, it makes you really wonder where that money went. Because you hear stories around town. You hear about someone getting $1 million and going out and buying a fucking Prius or two. So it makes you think, what if you'd had a better line producer? Because the story's not bad. Like, if you're talking about a franchise called Leprechaun and you're going to completely disassociate it from the original and put it in a brand new location with a brand new cast and no attachment
and
to
a brand new
the original.
Storyline. Yeah.
Like what? I just want to know what happened there. Like, if they'd had someone who knew how to spend the money, could they have made a better film? Because you start to break it down department by department and you're like, the acting was not great. Where did they go to get those people? Why couldn't they get a young Jennifer Aniston? Like, why couldn't they get? They couldn't get Jennifer Aniston. I think she did Friends the next year. But the next Jennifer Aniston, why couldn't they go out and find these good actors? Why couldn't they get better wardrobe? You have a proof of concept in the original at less than $1 million. How could you, with almost 300% increase on the budget, not fix some of these problems? But yeah, Glenn, I'm sorry I cut you off. Did you have final thoughts on Leprechaun 2?
Oh no, I was just being a smartass and saying skip it.
Mm-hmm. That's
oh my god. Okay, so look at this. What? Okay, so Leprechaun 2 holds an approval rating of 6% on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 17 reviews. This Wikipedia was written. I'm sure it's changed since then. I'm sure that's changed since then. Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times wrote, it has better writing, production values, acting, and humor than the original. I'm going to look up Kevin Thomas because what the fuck? And then TV Guide stated that the film is an improvement over its predecessor, though cynically contrived even by schlock horror standards. What were these people thinking? There is no fucking way that this is better than Leprechaun, than the first Leprechaun. I'm sorry.
The worst production design thing in the first one was the well, and it wasn't that bad.
No.
And it was like the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Well, because they were going to blow it up. Like, they had a practical explosion they were going to do. Of course, they carved it out of fucking styrofoam. That's what you do.
But and like you said, the last 30 fucking minutes of part 2.
They're running around.
A sticky, starched sheet, fucking light leaking fucking cave. It was garbage.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Pretty wild.
Sorry, art department, whoever worked on it. But
it hurt. It hurt me.
I'm sure you knew it sucked.
But you know what? It got made and it got distributed, so congratulations.
So kudos to you.
It's true, and you gave us many more.
You did, and we're going to talk about those many more after a short break. We'll be back in less than 5 minutes. Be sure to stay tuned here on Channel 29 for more Blood and Popcorn. We're going to take a quick little bio and grab some snacks, grab some popcorn, and we'll see you back here in just a moment. And until then,
BRB.
I don't have a catchphrase, so see you then.
Stay salty.
Stay salty, popcorns.
Good.
Sure. See you in a second. Oh, and we are back, folks. We are back. Thanks for sticking with us as we took a little break there. As we're here on Blood and Popcorn. It's the premiere episode. We are talking about Leprechauns 1 through 5. With me, they still made it. They made it through the break. Denise Pantoja, Glenn Akers. Welcome back to the show, guys. We are on to Leprechaun 3, or as it's known in other circles, Leprechaun 3. A marked improvement from Leprechaun 2, and this time finding our cast of characters in the great city of Las Vegas, Nevada. Denise, tell us a bit about Leprechaun 3. Takes Las Vegas, which is that's not the official title. That's what I would.
It's not official, but it's close to official.
Or Lep Vegas, Lep Vegas. Just Denise, go ahead and tell us about the movie.
I'm going to tell you about it. So part 2, actually it looked like it was released in 94. Maybe it was filmed in 93, released in 94. Leprechaun 3 is a 1995. So they did it right after. Horror comedy slasher film. Baby, this film was the highest grossing direct-to-video film of 1995.
No shit.
Part 3 was?
Wow. Made sense because I think this was also what Warwick Davis described as his favorite movie of the franchise.
I believe so, yeah.
And it makes sense. It's a fun movie. It's almost like they figured it out where the movies should go moving forward. And then Leprechaun 4 in space happened. But we're not going to talk about
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. So this was $2.5 million is what it's been estimated at. Direct to video. I mean, good on them for doing another one after the I would imagine it's a disappointing return on part 2, because hitting it that stride right when home video is really, really, really taking off was amazing. Interesting. So IMDb estimates it at 1.2 million and Wikipedia estimates it at 2.5 million. So there's a bit of a conflict in price there. That's always interesting to see. I wonder where they get their information. Anyway, 94 minutes. Another cast of lesser known folk. It's not anybody that I really recognize from, like, you'll look at a lot of these 80s and 90s movies and you'll be like, oh yeah, they did a lot of that type of stuff. The lead guy, John Gatins. Let's see, what did he do?
Well, Johnny Gates.
He was in Norbit as attendant. He was a writer on Power Rangers. Oh. So filmography wise, as far as like being this, he was in Pumpkinhead 2. He was a young Casper Dixon.
Oh,
and nice. Witchboard 2. Okay.
Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings. Oh, we're going to do the Pumpkinhead movies.
Oh, hell yeah, we are.
On this show, because I fucking love Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead is an amazing creature.
One of the best movie monsters. One of the most underrated movie monsters of all time, Pumpkinhead.
After this, though, it looked like he had a really difficult time getting much more than Cop Number 1 or Patient Soldier or Smiling Man.
And that's tough because he's a pretty good actor. Give it to the guy. It was a tough role to do, especially in the back half of the movie when he starts turning into a giant leprechaun. That's a tall order for anybody to do.
Well, now you have to tell them about the premise of the movie.
Well, then I will, Denise. Well, so the premise of the movie is pretty much, we find ourselves in Las Vegas. There's a magician's assistant and some dude who, if I'm remembering correctly, is just passing through town, who may or may not have a gambling problem.
And then I think, do they get into an accident, like a car accident or something?
Yeah, maybe. But there's like a pawn shop. And then he takes her to work?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, they get into an accident. She messes with the car. And he takes her to work at the St. Patrick's, the Irish themed casino, because of fucking course. It's
There was an
corrupt.
Irish.
It's corrupt as all get out.
And wait, isn't the guy? He's more Italian, right? The guy
Oh
who
yeah,
runs
well,
it.
the mob runs. It's not the Irish
Vegas.
mafia running Vegas.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, and then this is where the movie kind of starts to establish a bit deeper lore. We've got a
that we
guy
didn't see before, but they did carry it on later, which is good.
They did, and this answers a bit of the question of how does the Leprechaun keep making movies? And
this would have been great if they'd done it from
in the sequel. Yeah, this would have been great. But we find the Leprechaun as a statue in a pawn shop with a new MacGuffin, this medallion that seems to be keeping the Leprechaun as a statue. As you would expect, the medallion is removed against the advice of the very unlucky man who tries to pawn the statue off. I think he gets $60 for that statue.
Oh, no, wait. Are you talking about the homeless man who comes in and tries to sell it?
Correct, yes.
$20.
That's it.
He wanted to give him 10, and then he's like, 20.
$20. He's trying to get out of town. But yeah, you kind of figure out what happens next, except there's a twist in that we learn in this movie. And this is an important detail, folks, so pay attention close. Put on your listening ears because I'm about to crack the entire leprechaun mythos for you. If you are bit by a leprechaun and then that leprechaun squirts its blood into the wound, you'll become infected with what we are calling the L virus. If this is the Resident Evil universe, you're infected with the leprechaun gene and start to turn into a leprechaun yourself, displaying such interesting side effects as craving gold or speaking in limerick or rhyme. So just be careful out there. If you're going to catch leprechaun, one, try not to get bit. If you do get bit, do not get leprechaun blood in your open wound.
It's almost as bad as a cat scratch.
Yeah, it's not a pretty sight. Big sideburns, terrible pocked skin.
Ears, I think.
Big pointy. I mean, pointy ears are dope. I would do with the pointy ears, but not at the cost of the rest. It's not worth it. But it's a better movie. It's just a better movie. Like the acting is better, the writing is better, the premise is better. They made a decision on how to move the story forward. And fuck me, that's all it takes. Like, it doesn't take a lot to make a genre movie make sense. Insert MacGuffin here, i.e. the statue and medallion, and the story is off and running. You can go wherever you want from there.
When we're watching horror, we have already suspended our disbelief. Just give us more to work with.
Yeah, just give us a tad more to work with. Glenn, what was your favorite part of Leprechaun 3? Because I know this one, I think, performed well for you in the popcorn rankings.
It did. I don't want to give away too much in our rankings until we get there, but it might be my favorite one of the 5. Let's see. I liked that they got out of LA.
Nevada, much cheaper state to film in.
Sure, I'm sure it was.
Infinitely cheaper.
I liked, like I said, the first one was more straight horror with like some comedy sprinkled in. The second one tried to dial that more in, but failed, in my opinion. And then I think it's in 3 where it really hits its stride of like, it's a horror comedy.
Yeah. Even so, in the description of the movie that Denise read, identifies itself as such.
Oh,
that, and that was the thing with, I think, one of the big issues with the sequel. It had a hard lesson to learn in understanding what it was as a genre movie. It learned it. It applied that logic to the third, and here we are. Glenn, please continue.
Yeah. Beyond that, which I mean is a great difference. Knowing what you're trying to do and executing on it. It was also just shot much better, acted much better, like all technical aspects around just much, much better. I would have a feeling that a lot of that has to do with direction. I'm not trying to call anybody out, but I believe this one was a Brian Trenchard Smith film.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not a huge name, but if you're a genre fan, you probably know who he is. Well,
Directed Night of the Demons 2.
Right. He's like a journeyman genre filmmaker, who clearly knew how to make a competently made movie, which I can't give to two. I also liked it because it really leaned into its like camp elements and into its let's get fucking weird elements, which we can
fucking weird, yo.
I think we can get into in a little bit because I don't want to give away too much before Denise says what she liked about the film.
Glenn, take the ball, buddy.
Go
Run
for
with it
it.
as far
Do
down
it.
the field as you'd like, my dude.
That's
what we are here to do.
Drop my popcorn.
So full disclosure, even though I do love horror movies, I found out during doing this marathon that I had only actually seen part 1 and some of part 5. I definitely never seen part 2, and I definitely never seen part 3. There's a scene where I mean, there's no way to get around the bush. Like there's a sex robot thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up.
That like comes out of nowhere and is as amazing as you think it would be, and is hilarious. But also
the practical effects of that were just.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, like on the flip side of it, like well done practical effects.
Yeah, phenomenal.
And puppetry. I loved how it just embraced what it was doing, and that's really all you want from a B picture like these movies.
Yeah,
it's so, like embrace what it's doing, have fun with it, or take itself seriously if it's trying to do that, which it isn't.
Yeah.
Like generally that's. I honestly think 3 is the best of the 5.
Well, let me say something. Just to speak on the character of the Leprechaun, if I may, for a moment.
You might.
The sheer power factor of the Leprechaun displayed in this film is like Omega level mutant status. Not only does he create an illusion, because we see in, I believe it was Leprechaun 2, the Leprechaun display a naked woman,
the Leprechaun
whose breasts were actually a dual-bladed lawnmower.
We didn't talk about that one. Yeah,
we didn't.
So we already knew he had the ability to create illusions, but what we learned in the third one is not only can he create an illusion, he can manifest physical material that possesses mechanical and power structures the same as what is built by mankind here in the world today, because it's another scenario where there's a beautiful woman and she's naked and she's sexing him up and she's playing against his lesser instincts, but then we peel back the fucking illusion and it's a robot. And that shit didn't exist in the 90s. That wasn't a thing that guy would have had in his fucking room. That was something that the Leprechaun created, either by like some sort of crazy proficiency in Tinker's tools or just sheer Wanda, Scarlet Witch manifestation of physical reality in our plane. That is Omega level mutant status. How the fuck do you kill the Leprechaun? You can't kill the Leprechaun. Fucking fight me.
Yeah, it brings 2 questions. Is he a Nexus being?
Yeah.
Or are we all in his hex?
Oh my God, Glenn, I think you've cracked the entire Leprechaun franchise. The Leprechaun is a Nexus being. That's why, because if you watch the movies...
The big bad in the next Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on this. Denise, don't call me out on this later because I just don't know.
Okay.
There may be subtle changes in the Leprechaun's costume throughout every film. Now, what that tells me is this. All the Leprechaun movies are different realities. Never the same Leprechaun, but the nexus being version of the Leprechaun. That's why we get him completely and utterly decimated by Jennifer Aniston and company. We get him in the second one where it's so not memorable that I don't even remember how they killed him. In the third one,
I don't either.
Here, I still don't remember how
the
he
second
killed
one.
him. But in every universe,
He combusted.
He truly dies, and that Leprechaun is dead. But as a Nexus being, exists in the same frame of consciousness throughout all of reality. This is Glenn. This is revolutionary stuff. This is why he's in space. Because
true.
in that reality, the Leprechaun is in fact a fucking alien.
I don't know.
I'm here for this.
That's
theory.
what they intended.
Hashtag deep theories.
But it's where they got it. This is the kind of entertainment you get here on Channel 29, folks. You're not going to find this anywhere else. You're not going to find this kind of entertainment, horror entertainment. Come on now.
I have to correct myself because I was actually reading Leprechaun 3's production companies. So Leprechaun 3 had 3 production companies. Planet Productions did Leprechaun 2, and then it was distributed by Trimark.
Denise, let me ask you this: since you're talking about the players in the game, I would
Directed
love to know.
Rodman Flender. Yes.
Can you pull up a side by side on Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3? I'd love to see who made it to the next movie after Leprechaun 2. Did anyone make it? And you don't have to go too deep. Let's talk key players.
You mean like cast
writers,
and crew?
directors, producers, distributors, production companies?
Writers are different.
Did anyone make it after Leprechaun 2, or were they all just destroyed? I'm very
Writers
curious.
are different.
Different writers.
Let me see. Produced by
Glenn. What do you got? You got
our director, I believe, on 3, which I just praised, I think did 4.
Yes, he did.
Oh my God.
Which kind of negates my point.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
But
it is.
Whatever. It's okay. So let's see.
I have a feeling they slashed his budget.
Well, it was someone else's movie.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. And then he just got a job,
Yeah. Which you gotta do sometimes.
As a true journeyman.
Yeah.
So Mark Amon produced both.
So we had the same producer.
There's a single producer made it.
Wow. That speaks volumes. You change up the team, change up the lineup, and there you go. You got a brand new team with fucking a lot of gusto, a lot of piss and vinegar in their veins, coming in, making a new movie with a whole new team, and they succeeded greatly. I think all of us can speak to Leprechaun 3. Denise, did you have a favorite moment in Leprechaun 3? Lep Takes Las Vegas. That you recall fondly here?
I absolutely loved the fucking effects when there is a woman in the movie, older woman who essentially wishes she's like older and overweight, and she's got larger breasts, so she wishes to be smaller and perkier. And when she gets her comeuppance from the Leprechaun,
because everything's got a price. Magic always has a price. Remember that.
Everything begins to swell. Booty, boobs, lips. It is one of the most amazing practical effects things to watch. Yeah. I quite enjoyed it. I was like, my God.
I agree, that sequence is great. I think that's also one of actually the most horrifying in any of the series.
Whenever you get that like crazy prosthetic that looks just real enough, like one of the special effects I'll cite that does it in the best possible way that I've ever seen is Escape from L.A. Bruce Campbell's character in that scene with all those people, like all the Hollywood fake plastic people, like they do it the best. But this is a similar effect to what you would have seen in A Big Trouble in Little China when one of the gods explodes because he gets so pissed off that he fucking swells up and pops. Except here you've got it in, you know, the B and T and in the lips.
Well, and it's like a horror. It's like a horror story from what was very huge in that time, which was that was when plastic surgery was really getting its fucking
Hollywood
train going, juices going, whatever.
Yeah,
mid-90s was all about fake. Everything.
No, that's a good one, D.
I will say though, one of my least favorite parts, and this poor girl who played the lead opposite where did all my stuff go? The lead opposite the guy. Hold on, her name is here somewhere. Because where did my stuff go? Where did my tabs go?
I know not. But while you're looking for that, D, I'm going to talk about my favorite part of the movie. I think one of my favorite parts of the movie, and it's so simple and it's so stupid, but there's like this duo of like tough guys, like mob guys. And one of them is wearing like a Hawaiian shirt deal, like he's your quintessential like Miami Vice guy, and he starts spitting up coins, and it's so effective. Like it's a practical effect, it's done with editing, but it's so effective, and I just think it's so funny because he's trying to talk, and he's just spitting up coins, and no one's doing anything about it. No. He's at the table spitting up coins as he talks. It's like a fucking Snapchat filter in real life, and it just made me laugh so hard to see that because I do love a good practical effect, and I do love a good cut, and that's an example of our editing category that we're looking at when you can create something like that isn't just turn profile and put a hose in your hand as you vomit out the side. Like that was like, okay, spit all the coins out, load them up, do it again, and just cutting back and forth.
I didn't realize this.
What you were looking for? Oh, go ahead, Glenn.
I didn't realize this until you just mentioned that, because not horror related. My other great love is The Simpsons because it was basically what I grew up on. Now I'm curious if The Simpsons was referencing this or if The Simpsons did it first.
Well, it's The Simpsons, so they probably did it first.
I don't know. There's an episode because, like, I think it was season somewhere between 3 and 6 when Burns opens a casino and Barney takes a drink out of a cup that he thinks is his beer, but it's coins, and he starts burping up coins. And when you said that, it just made me think of that. This guy's paying out, is what somebody says.
Oh, man, that's really funny.
Now that's going to annoy me.
Deep research. We'll have to look it up. D, have you found what you were looking for?
Yes, Lee Armstrong, sweet girl. She played, what was her name? Tammy. Quit acting after this movie.
Oof.
Yeah, I don't know why. Poor girl. It could be because they had her in that fucking outfit. It was like a bodysuit.
Yeah.
And fishnets for the whole fucking movie. That's one thing that is like a little, like, poor girl. She's in like a blazer and this sexy magician's costume the entire time. Because she's very pretty. She was good. You know what I mean? She wasn't a bad actor. So I hope that wasn't it. I hope it wasn't like I just ran around in lingerie for the whole movie. So forget this.
Because she was good. Like as far as the franchise goes, after Jennifer Aniston, she was my favorite final girl of the series. She was good. She's a great actress. Like there was nothing saying that she couldn't have gone far. But you might be right, D. You can watch that back with some family and someone says the wrong thing and your confidence takes a hit, and the next thing you know, you don't want to do it anymore. It's a shame because she was a talented girl.
This movie was shot in only 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. That's how you do it, man. That's how you make these movies.
That's a testament to the crew and the cast.
Yeah, those were 18-hour days, no doubt.
And to make it as quality as it was.
Yeah.
And they did it on film.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which is, man, filmmakers today have a very different experience. My second movie I ever
We're
worked
spoiled.
on, I watched a film loader. Film loader used to be a real job. That doesn't exist anymore unless you have a director who's crazy enough to spend that kind of money. But like a lot of studios aren't going to allow that shit, man. Get yourself a fucking Ari and get out there and make your movie, because like no way. But this was a job that existed where someone would sit with a tent over their hands, like high school typing class where you can't see the keyboard shit, like taking the most valuable thing on the set aside from human life and making sure it doesn't get exposed in a fucking dark room, and
Checking
then
the gate, yo.
prepping the next roll so that the next 2 hours you're going to spend don't go in the toilet. And all of this is being done by fucking touch.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a crazy job that was. But yeah, no, it's just madness.
Mm-hmm.
You know who I didn't like, but I liked as a character? The magician.
Yeah.
And I thought that he went out in a very funny way, like being like, my wish is that I want to be the world's best magician. I want to be ultimate magician. And he gets like some sort of gem in his hand or some shit. I don't know what the fuck that was about. But then he gets cut in half with a chainsaw in the middle of the fucking theater. And
Yeah,
it's great.
does.
It's a great moment. And I want to say...
He gets his for sure.
I don't remember, because listen, we were like half a case of Guinness in by this point, but like, I think in Leprechaun 4, we had... the visual, the actual witnessing of the deaths started to trickle off, and by 5 you barely saw any of them. All of it was implied. All of it was, cut a pan away to a wall and then a blood spurt on the wall with maybe a shadow. Which, you want to save money, cut the fucking practical effects out, start doing that, makes sense. But yeah, I remember that moment of the chainsaw going through the board, cutting the magician in half, and that could have been it, but they split the box, so you saw the intestines and the guts and shit pour out. And I don't remember that being a thing, seeing anything like that in the movies following.
It seemed like
that.
Was this the goriest one?
It might have been.
It might have been. I mean, the first one had its moments, with the shoe buckle knife and fucking cutting the dude from Pee-wee's Big Adventure up. Like, that was pretty bloody.
See what the death count was on this guy. Because the first movie was only 4.
Yeah, getting chainsawed in half in front of a live audience in Las Vegas and having your innards spill out on the stage is pretty fucking graphic. And
for sure.
I do not recall anything after that. Like in Leprechaun 4, I mean, I remember some shit like atmosphere explosions and suits, metalhead guy. But I don't recall. By 5, I remember distinctly there being a distinct lack of on-screen gory deaths. It was more along the lines of squibs and gunshot wounds that were taking place. But it was a very different movie, and we'll talk about it after the next one.
9 body count is up to 9 in Leprechaun 3.
That's pretty good for a Leprechaun movie. That's pretty solid. Well, I think we can all agree that Leprechaun 3 is probably the best movie overall, after, if not before, the original Leprechaun. Is that something I think I'll say?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think I'd probably
agree
there too.
Totally.
Which brings us to the unfortunate task of
recounting
Leprechaun 4 in space.
So it's funny, you made a comment, TJ, about while we were watching it, saying it feels like this was a different movie. And then they said, let's just slap Leprechaun in there because it's popular.
Which is a real thing. It happens in Hollywood all the time. And
you were 100% right.
You were.
What was this supposed to be a spoof of?
I'm so sorry. Excuse me. I think Jesus. Apollo 13.
God bless you. God bless you. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Could you
Good
imagine?
God. That would have been horrible.
Listen, not that I wouldn't want to be married to Warwick Davis. If Warwick Davis were to propose to me today, there's a fucking strong likelihood I would agree to it because it's Warwick Davis.
He's married, okay?
Yeah, but you never know. It's Hollywood, man. Stars
Body
get to
count
do
was
what they
5
want to
in
do.
part 2. Now listen to this. Very interesting. Some of the trivia that I've seen in the other movies is you can actually see Warwick Davis sans makeup with his wife in maybe 2 and 3, I think, as background.
That's amazing.
Oh,
I love that.
Great.
I thought you were going
to
say it was going to happen in 4. I was like, where?
Yeah, there's space background in the space nightclub.
Which is the thing.
It is a real thing in this movie. Yeah, that's a real thing that happens in Hollywood sometimes. A studio owns the rights to a script, and they're like, we got to get something out of it. It's not bad enough to shelf forever. We need to do something with it. Or someone's got a friend. Someone's earned a favor.
The curse.
And they get their movie made. That's a real thing. It happens in Hollywood all the fucking time.
It's true.
And this was it. And they said the only way your movie's getting made is if it's a Leprechaun movie. That's the only way we're going to put money into it. And the director and the writer probably said, but, and then ultimately took the check, because that's what you got to do in Hollywood sometimes, is just take the check.
So the movie takes place in the year 2096, just so we're all clear.
So the not too distant future, 100 years in the future.
It's
It's all too real now, folks. You yourself could find yourself on a SpaceX flight with a killer leprechaun on board. Just putting it out there.
Yep.
Watch your shit.
According to Dave Trippett, the executive in charge of production for the first 3 movies, this film originally started out as a spoof of Apollo 13. A senior Trimark executive saw the promo art for Apollo 13 and immediately had artwork made up replacing Tom Hanks' face on the poster with the leprechaun's face. And
why would you spoof a movie about a tragic event?
A real event.
Like, what the fuck?
It's like, you know what would be hilarious is if we put the leprechaun in the World Trade Center.
Hell yeah, Momo. Gotta have space night.
Probably.
Oh my God, TJ.
Probably not a good idea. But it was the 90s. People were doing crazy shit, and they said,
This is true.
Yeah, let's get the Apollo mission and put and spoof it. It'll be hilarious. And what will make it even better? Putting the leprechaun in it.
So it looks like maybe it was made in 96 and released in 97. Budget was $3 million.
No, I don't buy that for a fucking second.
I'm going to look at IMDb.
Where
That's what Wikipedia said. That was what Wikipedia said.
IMDb is a very different number. It's like 1.4 or something like that, if I'm remembering correctly.
What year was it made?
96.
96, released in 97. Looks like.
Was the dollar worthless that year?
Listen, here's the thing about Leprechaun in Space. Because
1.6 million.
1.6?
Skip it.
Yeah, because
No. That was the box office. No, wait, that's the budget. Sorry.
The box office.
Carry on.
Well,
Sorry,
listen, it's a space movie. It's a sci-fi movie. Monsters go to space sometimes. I'm surprised we never got our Freddy Krueger Leatherface in space, but we did get Jason in space. We got Jason X, and it's one of my favorite Friday the 13th movies. To be frank,
a dope kill.
To be honest, I'm a big fan of Friday the 13th 10, Jason X as they call it. But this came long before. This was the predecessor. Let's take a franchise movie monster, and without any explanation, without any reason, once again applying the logic of Glenn's Leprechaun multiverse theory, as Leprechaun is a Nexus being, let's put this guy in fucking space. And how do we get him there, guys? How do we get the Leprechaun into space?
You tell me. Well, I think I fell asleep.
Let's find us a beautiful woman and make her an alien queen that the Leprechaun has to marry. Now here we are again, pulling from shades of Leprechaun 2. Because you want to know, has it been 1,000 years? I don't know.
Oh.
But no, it hasn't.
Shit.
It hasn't been 1,000 years. It's been like maybe 100 years. But like, listen,
yeah.
here's the deal though. The Leprechaun is due another bride. Perhaps in this universe, the Leprechaun is 100 years younger.
Did he just hitch a ride though on one of like the spaceships that go up?
No, he's an alien. As far as I am to determine it, the Leprechaun in space is an alien. He is on a planet. He is not on the ship.
They didn't explain.
Right, that's true.
What?
But how did he get to the fucking planet? What?
I was gonna say they didn't explain what planet he was on talking to this.
The caves were better in this one, though.
Which
It
proves
was probably
that Caves
Tatooine. You know,
were terrible.
what a villainous cesspool of scum and villainy is
Warwick
Tatooine.
Davis was in Star Wars.
That's true.
Thank you for that ASMR moment.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Listen, here's the thing. We're in space. It's shot like a television series. It's shot like a sci-fi television series with no budget.
Like a lower level Star Trek.
It's really bad. Like everything about it screams this was made for TV. But again, once again, you have the indomitable Warwick Davis doing the best he can with what he's got, crushing yet another strong Leprechaun movie. Yes, Estonianite Hellraiser did go to space in Bloodline, which is Hellraiser 4, which is actually one of my favorite Hellraiser movies. Go check that shit out. We're going to cover that one day on fucking Blood and Popcorn. But that movie is dope. But he's in space, and here's like, it's weird because like everyone's got space guns. Yeah, eat that brain. Everyone's got space guns, Glenn. Everyone's got space guns, and they've got like space armor and chrome dome heads, and they all talk very like Starship Troopers, like Red Checks, Roughnecks. But ultimately, the Leprechaun picks them off one by one, rips them apart, tears their fucking world apart. And there we are ultimately. But one of the things that we got in Leprechaun in Space that I will say I was very excited about, one of the most memorable moments of Leprechaun in Space that I will carry with me forever and ever and ever, is the giant leprechaun in the movie's climax.
That was pretty amazing.
We are teased with a little hint of a shrink/grow ray in the lab earlier in the movie with some of the space material they got to shrink down to get more of. And wouldn't you fucking know it, right there in the climax of the movie, the leprechaun steps in front of the ray and is grown to 10 times the size. He's a giant leprechaun now. He's a giant leprechaun. He's walking around like fucking Godzilla on a spaceship. He's a giant leprechaun, which in and of itself is noteworthy and may be the only redeeming part of this movie, because leprechauns are inherently, they're small folk. And here you find yourself. Glenn, what do you do? Glenn, what do? You find yourself face to face with a giant leprechaun. He's fucking 20 feet tall, and he's in your cargo bay on your spaceship in the year 2096. Glenn, what do you do?
Well, I recall my few thousand-year-old ancestors, and I just blow the airlock.
And I'm pretty sure that's what they did. Yeah. Problem solved. If you ever find yourself in a spaceship, folks, with a giant leprechaun or a queen alien or any other fucking type of creature, some sort of
or murder Vader bots, if you're caught up on another
show. Yeah, you pop the airlock. You get them trapped and you pop the airlock. You got to strap yourself in. Make sure you got the straps on, because you're also going to be pulled towards the hole. And if you're not strong enough. You're never going to be strong enough. You got to find yourself like a 2,000-pound tensile strength strap. Get that on yourself, because you might even snap your spine in half. I've never been to space, but in this movie, the leprechaun goes out the fucking door, turns into pieces. He's in little tiny little leprechaun pieces. Well, no, giant leprechaun pieces. He doesn't shrink when he leaves the building. He stays large. And that's, once again, Glenn, proving your point of the nexus being leprechaun. No leprechaun could return from becoming 20 feet large and then going into the icy depths of space and exploding into 20 pieces. No leprechaun could do that. This isn't the Blob. Let's get serious here, folks. This is Blood and fucking Popcorn, where we're taking on the hard topics. No leprechaun could survive that, Glenn. I don't care how magical they are. So how did they do it, Glenn? How'd they do it? How'd they get us back? There's only one way, and you've already told us. Nexus being.
Oh, yes. I also had a logistics question. So they have this...
There are so many of those.
Yes, there are so many of them. Some more ridiculous than the others. So they have the most ridiculous technology ever created.
Oh yeah.
Where you can shrink anything or expand anything basically infinitely.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you in space if you have that technology? Because you go into space to basically take resources from other planets. So couldn't you just expand whatever resources you already have or shrink the ones you don't want anymore?
You would think.
Why would you need to go to Jupiter and beyond if you can just basically they have a nexus being fucking beam of creation?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little too weird in my thought process. But
well, again, it was an Apollo 13 spoof originally, which clearly had the shrink ray. I don't know if you guys remember Apollo 13 with Gary Sinise.
Is that how Tom Hanks died?
Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks died from the shrink ray. He was shrunk to an infinitely small size, which, to be honest, I don't know if he's dead. I don't know if that character is truly dead. He could have just been shrunk down to a particulate matter and exists somewhere in someone's body. Maybe in, I don't know. Listen, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a spaceman from the future. I just know that giant leprechauns are awesome, and they explode just like tiny leprechauns do in the vast icy vacuum of space.
I mean, skip it.
Yeah, hard. Listen, one of the features.
Yeah, I don't know if I would.
One of the features here.
Or if you want to watch it, watch it until you see the first CGI moment, and you get what I'm saying, and then just watch the last 30 minutes.
Or listen, and we don't condone anything here on this channel, but if you find yourself in an altered state of being by some sort of liquid or herbal substance, you're going to find yourself having a far better time watching this movie when you're doing a little safety meeting beforehand. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know that I would rewatch it.
I will watch it again next year on St. Patrick's Day, as we've done year after year before, but I won't like it. I won't enjoy it. But I'll tell you what I will enjoy wholeheartedly now and forever. My third favorite in the entirety of the Leprechaun franchise, Leprechaun 5, Leprechaun in the Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. I fucking love this movie. I fucking love this movie so much. There was a rush of movies. And Denise, before we get into this, before I start dropping mad opinions, tell us a bit about Leprechaun in the Hood.
A little bit about
the final nail in the coffin of the Glenn Akers Leprechaun multiverse nexus being theory, as the hashtag reads, trending on Twitter currently. How do you take a giant leprechaun that's been frozen in the vacuum of space and put them in the hood? Denise, tell us all about it.
He's a statue again.
Oh, call back to the third one.
With that,
further proof, Leprechaun 4 is the Halloween 3 of the franchise.
Exactly. He's got that medallion around him, and for some reason he's in a sewer.
Yep.
Is that where they are? And then
kind of
fucking Ice-T shows up. And he and his boy,
like 70s Ice-T,
70s Ice-T. Yeah. He's like a pimp.
I was going to say he's a statue 20 years prior to the last time he was a statue.
Where he wasn't a statue. Like continuity issue. Big continuity issue. Maybe we'll go into that a little bit later.
Oh, 100% epic fail. Yes. All of the things you say about nightmare movies.
Oh, okay, yeah, dude. Phantasm's fantastic. We are going to super cover the Phantasm franchise. Oh, fuck yeah.
So there also is the introduction of a magical flute.
Yeah.
Which we have not seen before.
Because sometimes you need a story element to push your story forward.
What? Yeah, that's the first time we see the flute.
Yeah, it's the flute guffin.
And then Ice-T's able to get them dying back on him after the leprechaun kills his friend, but he's got the flute. And then lo and behold, years later, he's a very successful man.
Yep. Yeah, he's basically Suge Knight. Like he's I would assume strongly that Mac Daddy is Suge Knight. That would be my best guess in the rap mythos of Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then there's this this trio of young boys wanting to get out of the hood and try to be a positive role model, which is great. God, what's his name? What's this character's name? Shit. His rap name that they make fun of him for. Hold on. Let me
Postmaster P.
Postmaster P.
For positivity, yo.
Yeah, the P's for positivity. Just like Grandmaster Master P was, I believe, also Master Positivity.
Oh, really?
No, absolutely
not.
Certainly not.
No. Fuck no, he wasn't.
Certainly not.
I remember listening to that record way too young. He was not a positive.
So through some shenanigans, because they're trying to win a rap battle.
Yeah.
And to go to Vegas to win like a record deal.
Yeah, correct. All this is accurate.
And things aren't going well. And they try to get Mac Daddy to help them out. And he's like, fuck you, get out of here. And then they're like, why don't we just steal from him? And then like get our new, because their equipment blew up in the way only that 1990s 2000 stuff could blow up randomly and with
sparks
really
coming
ridiculous
from areas of the speaker in which
effects,
no electricity would flow. That is the
like
the way
Simpsons logic.
Yeah.
So they have to like replace their equipment. They're robbing him, and then Mac Daddy comes up, and then like something happens and he gets startled, and this poor kid who's trying to be positive accidentally shoots Mac Daddy.
Yeah, he becomes P for pistol. Postmaster Pistol, and he shoots Ice-T in the fucking chest.
But then they get the flute from Mac Daddy, right?
Yeah.
And then they take the fucking medallion off, which is always a bad idea. Don't take medallions off of statues, people. Learn from your predecessors.
Yeah. But again, they wouldn't know because this is Earth 659 Leprechaun. So it makes sense that they would do this.
Listen, there's all sorts of messages in the Bible, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. About
regarding
the leprechaun.
taking.
Yeah, and on the seventh day, he made corned beef. Here's the thing about Leprechaun in the Hood. One, it has Ice-T, so automatically it gets a thumbs up because that's rad. Ice-T's fucking great.
Homicide, baby. SVU, motherfucker.
Yeah, he's flexing his
way
SVU
before that.
Way before SVU. But I heard is that this is the role that got him the part in
appreciation of Ice-T.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I heard that they sent this tape to the SVU casting director, and the SVU casting was like, "You were in Leprechaun in the Hood," and Ice-T was like, for sure," and they were like,
"I'm pretty sure it was just a continuation of Homicide: Life on the Streets, wasn't it?"
That's it, yeah. But the great thing about Leprechaun in the Hood is that I feel that this is the movie that it finally achieved nirvana in understanding what it was. It embraced the genre it was in, the restraints of the budget, the restraints of the genre, and it made a movie that's truly special because by all accounts it's a musical. They're like you could release an EP with this movie.
I did realize that.
And it would line right up like 4, 5, 6 tracks of a fucking record you could have released with this film. To be honest, in today's society, with vinyl being such a big resurgence, you might have seen a vinyl album special edition with like Waxwork Records or something come out with this movie.
I'm surprised Mondo hasn't done anything like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lower tier film, and it's got a sequel. There's Leprechaun Back to the Hood, which is the direct sequel to this. But it's fucking fun. Like it is. It's just a fun movie. It gets what it's doing. It's got the Leprechaun smoking weed with Ice-T. It gives you everything you want. He raps. I have a fun story, but before I get into that, I want to hear a bit more. Glenn, tell us why you liked Leprechaun in the Hood, because I know you did. I know you enjoyed it. Why
I did.
Why was it on your watch list?
So out of the 5 we watched, obviously I like the first one. I like 3 maybe the best. I'm torn on In the Hood or 1 being number 2. I think I liked it because, like exactly what you just said, it really seemed to have found the note the entire series was trying to play, with its ridiculousness and its basically its ridiculousness. I also liked that it was emulating other films of the time, especially films that were trying to take place in LA. Like, this was probably a little before Friday, wasn't it? Though.
Yeah, but
like it got the like the stoner humor of Friday, I thought, but like the parts that weirdly kind of don't work for me a little bit are like when it was trying to do like the heavier things of like Boys in the Hood or other LA films
like
that were trying to
New Jack City.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of it felt like a dark, gritty gangster movie from the 90s.
Yeah, trying to deal
several
with
like almost
the
direct call outs to those movies.
Trying to deal with the awful, let's be real, shit of LA in the 90s.
Yeah. And fucking today. You know? I mean, like,
yes,
shit.
And today.
Like, yeah, you could draw a lot of rough parallels for what those kids were dealing with into modern society. It's a wild look at how not far we've come.
Yes, it's true.
That's a different show, y'all.
Yeah, very different show. It's Blood and Popcorn After Dark.
Right.
It's a political show.
How it was like a ridiculous, campy, fucking weird horror movie, and then it does some like, I don't want to say hard hitting scenes because that's not quite right, but like there's some tone shifts where you're just like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
But and then but it made it work, and then like you said, wrapped in like a semi musical.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like a mess, but it works somehow.
Yeah.
Which is rare and weird.
And D, I think we saw a lot of that when we were working our way through the Hollywood video catalog. Like sometimes a movie that shouldn't work, something like Stupid Teenagers Must Die, or like sometimes a movie shouldn't work, but it does. All the pieces fit together. What about Leprechaun in the Hood do you think really brought us to this place in the franchise where we kind of are today? Like, because it died in the Hood. Like Leprechaun in the Hood was one of the last in that specific franchise. It only got back to the Hood after this, and then that was it. Beyond that, we went into remake territory, reimagining territory, origin territory. What do you think? Because this is, mind you, this is the only film in the franchise that has a direct sequel. It's not the same people, I don't think, but we are in the same location. We went from, in
the same world,
Los Angeles, Vegas, space, the Hood, and back to the Hood. Like, so something clicked here in the franchise where they felt that we want to do one more movie in the world of the Hood as they define it, in the franchise. Why do you think they did that? Like, what? I mean, because it was, like I said, it's one of my favorite ones in the movie, in the franchise.
To be honest, I think, thinking about it right now, I think they accidentally tapped into something that Black filmmakers have known for a very long time. That if you fucking put Black people in a movie, people of color in a movie, people are going to respond to it. Like, it's such a shame that we're still at a place where it's like, there's movies and then there's Black movies. It should just be fucking movies with people in it.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think that no major franchise had dipped their toes into that. And then they probably saw, I'd have to look it up because it was like 1.6 million. I don't know what kind of success they saw from it, but they probably saw a great success. They crossed a new audience that they had not really tapped into before on that kind of level.
Well, yeah, you look at the casts, like not to go too deep, but like you look at the cast of the previous movie. First movie, nope. Second movie, not that I recall. Third movie, not that I recall, save the pawn shop owner. Fourth movie, one dude.
One person.
Fifth movie, different audience. Smart move. But also like I just think it's such a smart movie because it's such a hard thing. And listen, is the music in Leprechaun in the Hood the best? Is the fucking rhyme the best? No one's spitting bars that are fucking so good that they deserve awards. But
but it's fun.
It's fun, and it's a hard thing to do. Making a movie with musical performance, fucking hard. I worked on Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. Like, it's tough days, and it's hard to do. And to keep it all kind of in that world and keep it in that with those characters and with their performance and with their goals as a troupe, you kind of get to see this growth of these characters going from guys who were afraid they weren't going to make it to having this unlimited power. And their music starts to change through the movie as they do it. And you finally end up, speaking of the music, again, spoiler alert, if you're hoping to enjoy Leprechaun in the Hood for the first time, at the end of the movie, one of the characters that makes it is there as a solo act. And and again, are the lyrics great? No. Is the music great? No. But the storytelling mechanic of the music is pretty well executed. And you've got this guy now working with the Leprechaun. He's basically sold his soul to the devil and is now a completely different character. And this was the most innocent of the characters, Postmaster P, talking about how he rules the world now because he's got a magic flute that'll make anyone love him. And he's working with the Leprechaun. And I was saying it through the whole day. What would happen if instead of trying to steal the Leprechaun shit all the time, if you just did what they did in that movie? The grandma cooks him a fucking meal and like hangs out with him. Like, we assume the Leprechaun's the bad guy, but people are always stealing his shit. He's got to live his entire life worried about people stealing the only thing he cares about.
Sure.
He's a nice guy. You throw shoes at him that are dirty, he has to clean them. He has no choice. I challenge you to look back in the Leprechaun franchise and see the Leprechaun as the victim. That's what I'm saying. The dude's getting constantly robbed. He's trying to defend his property. I just gotta say, I think I'm Team Leprechaun at the end of the day.
No, sure. And Jason Voorhees was just trying to avenge his mother's death.
Well, I mean, yeah, technically, but I think the culmination of the Leprechaun franchise could be best summed up in the title song of Leprechaun 5 in the Hood, where the Leprechaun gets up at the end of the movie after Postmaster P wins the contest with his what did he call them? Zombie fly girls? Yes. And performs the title song of the film, Lep in the Hood, always up to no good.
It's amazing.
It's great. It's one verse repeated over and over again, and that's it.
That's it.
But it's awesome, and it's really great. And I would just love to hear y'all's final thoughts on Lep in the Hood, because I know he's up to no good. But what did you guys think overall for the movie?
I think that there was probably a little overacting, but there was something very interesting about trying to marry this campy horror film with all of the very serious, very traumatic events that were being depicted on screen and that were happening in real life. And not just to have a movie with Black people, a horror movie with Black people, where you normally have horror movies who kill off Black people, the one or the two that they have, immediately in the film. Like, how exciting was it? What was it? Deep Blue Sea, where LL Cool J, you're just waiting for him to like get eaten by the shark every 5 seconds.
And they tease it all the time throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. But to have an entire movie where, yes, you lose some people, but you have an entire black cast in this horror movie, like that, I don't know. Like, we've got to look at this. Like, was that, like, it's so rarely seen. I don't know if it was one of the first, but like, that's huge.
Yeah, you had a black protagonist, a black antagonist, aside from the Leprechaun himself. You had a cast full of people of color. It was great. It was a great movie, and I'm a big fan. Glenn, final thoughts on Leprechaun in the Hood before we get into our popcorn rankings.
Nice.
Rankings.
Sam Jackson Bison. It's true. Estonian. I'm sorry. Carry on, Glenn.
I mean, he bits it, but
hey.
Yeah. Like I said, I rank 5 in the Hood with either on par with 1 or slightly behind, but it might be actually ahead of it, in my humble opinion.
Rankings.
Right. I think you're getting into something there, Denise, about like, in that like horror and comedy are basically 2 ends of a spectrum, or at least this is how I see cinema. That sounded really pretentious.
No, that's exactly why you're on this show. You're that guy for this show.
Studied film. It's okay. You don't have to apologize.
Lean into it, Gooch. Lean into it.
When done well, they hit upon like base human emotions, either fear or like elation, I guess, for lack of a better term. And like they should never combine, but they do in good horror comedies. But I mean, obviously I know you two have seen shit horror comedies, and I'm sure a lot of our audience has seen shit horror comedies that just don't work on either spectrum. And I think the 2 hardest movies to do well and do correctly are horror and comedy, because it's truly hard to make somebody afraid, and it's truly hard to make somebody laugh.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Leprechauns work so well, is because they don't do either exceptionally well, but they do in this weird middle ground that shouldn't work. And I think, like TJ said, I think 5 in the Hood is the one that actually melds the 2 the best. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that's my answer.
I love it.
I mean, think about it. Horror and comedy, finding something funny and finding something scary, they dance with each other a lot. Like, when I'm scared, I laugh. If I'm on a roller coaster and I'm terrified, I'll laugh.
For sure.
There is even though they don't necessarily exist together, there is like just a little bit of dancing along the line.
Yeah.
But I mean, on the flip side, like if you laugh hysterically, there's also like an extreme vulnerability you have right then, because you're out of control.
Yeah.
Sure.
Shut up. He doesn't like compliments. Don't compliment him.
Don't you dare. No, but I think that I do think that's well said, and I think the last thing you said too, Glenn, was also very well said. And I think at this point, we've got a very good view of Leprechauns 1 through 5. And I think we should spend a couple minutes, because this is the world premiere mega deluxe episode. Let's spend some time talking about the whole franchise as a whole. Let's look at the bigger picture, the 10,000 foot view, because we've got not only 1 through 5, we've got Back to the Hood, we've got Origins, we've got Leprechaun Returns. These are more modern films that came out after the 2000s that were studio pictures, very polished. Like a very different look at the world of the Leprechaun. fast forwarded 10 years into the future where technology has caught up. Denise, you look like you've got something to say about the Leprechaun franchise, and I want to hear it.
Very exciting news. So Warwick Davis did not do Return to the Hood and did not do the Origins one because he wanted to wait until his youngest child, his son, turned 18. This is what I read in an article. His son, I think, just turned 18 last year, or at least by this year. So very exciting. We could have him back. That's why he didn't return to the franchise, because he was looking at the movies that he was doing through the eyes of his children.
Yeah.
And he didn't think it was the right time. We could have him back. And Darren Lynn Bousman just tweeted 2 days ago. Darren Lynn Bousman from Saw, from Repo the Genetic Opera, The Devil's Carnival. What was the other one? Abaddon?
Yeah. No,
Abattoir. Abattoir.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Arbiter, something like that. Whatever it is.
He tweeted that he wants that franchise. So he is like literally tweeting at who owns it? Lionsgate now? I don't know. He was tweeting at Lionsgate, I think.
Yeah,
he wants that franchise, and that I would be very excited to see that. I am a big fan of his. I know Glenn's gonna cringe when we watch the musicals, The Devil's Carnival and Repo the Genetic Opera and Devil's Carnival 2, but I will make him watch.
Don't worry about it.
I'm excited about that prospect. But I mean, overall, I'm a fan.
Yeah, I agree. It's it took some hits on my overall enjoyability because of the seasonal nature of the film. Like, I don't find myself ever really craving to watch the Leprechaun franchise unless it's March, unless it's getting close to St. Patrick's Day. It's become tradition at this point. Like, so it suffers in that way a little bit. It suffers from the curse of holiday themed films like Thanksgiving, like Silent Night, Deadly Night, Krampus, Black Christmas. Like, it's tough. It's a tall order with so much content. Yeah, it's a tall order with such a massive amount of content in the world to be bothered to go to a seasonal piece like this anytime, because it's going to be there. Like, I don't watch Thanksgiving unless it's Thanksgiving. I watch Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving 3 every Thanksgiving because fucking Thanksgiving horror. It's the best Thanksgiving horror movie's ever been made. And one day I'm going to reach out to the creators of that movie and they're going to be on this show. Anyway, that's the thing that makes it tough for me. But overall, I love the franchise, even at its worst. I'm very much like, if you're a fan of the franchise, be a fan of the whole franchise, scars and all. And two and Space are deep scars in the franchise. But beyond those two movies, everything else is pretty darn good. Back to the Hood is not as good as the original To the Hood, or In the Hood. Origins is a very different kind of movie than all the Leprechaun movies. It's far more serious horror. And Returns is like a modernized version of the original franchise, which is pretty good. It's not great, but it's kind of like Evil Dead, the Evil Dead remake. It's polished, it's pretty. But ultimately, overall, I'm a big fan of the franchise, and I hope we get to see a Darren Lynn Bousman, Warwick Davis team up. I would bet that would be the best one of all of them. And I don't put that on. I'm not a big fan of remakes or modernizations of a lot of classic horror, but with that team, with the original Leprechaun, Warwick Davis, with the insanely talented and wildly visual direction of a Darren Lynn Bousman, I think we'd see something really special, and I'd be very excited for that.
And if they needed a production team,
would in a minute for free.
Yes.
I'd sell everything I own to come produce that movie for free. Or for money, like, you want to pay me, whatever.
For money.
I'm just saying. Are we ready? Are we ready to dive into are we ready to fill up some popcorn buckets? Are we ready to see on a technical level what we thought of these 5 movies on this mega deluxe world premiere of Blood and Popcorn?
How do you want to do it?
I just want to go down the row. I think
go by movie and then give our rating?
Yeah, let's go movie by movie. Let's do it movie by movie. Let's start with Leprechaun 1. Who would like to go first? I'm happy to go first. Either of you can go first. Who
Why don't you
wants
go
to?
first?
All right,
Give us
I'll give my breakdown
set the
first.
tone. Set the tone.
I'll set the tone. I'll do it just because you asked so nicely. So the original
I pretty much
Leprechaun,
told you to do it.
out of 10 popcorn kernels, I gave the script a 6.
Oh,
I
zombie.
I think it's oh dude, Zombievers is one of the best modern horror films of the modern age of horror. Full stop.
What is this?
Zombievers?
Full
You
stop.
haven't seen it?
Full
Oh,
stop.
cool.
We will watch it. We will review it, and God willing, we'll have someone from that movie on this show because I fucking love Zombievers. I love it. But Leprechaun, yeah, I gave it a 6 out of 10 for script. It's your standard fare. Nothing crazy spectacular, but fun. I did an 8 for acting out of 10 because for a genre movie, you got to set some expectations, and my expectations were all well met. There were a couple actors in this that weren't super on par with a Jennifer Aniston, but still overall really good. Special effects, I love the Leprechaun makeup. I love those effects. I thought everything was pretty well executed. I gave that a 7 out of 10. Production design, not a ton to work with. You had a house, but where needed, it was pretty okay. I gave that a 6 out of 10. Wardrobe, 6.5 out of 10. A lot of that leaning into the Leprechaun costume in general. But just for the general continuity of the time period and how well it looked, 6.5 on the wardrobe. Music, I gave a solid 8 to because I love the original Leprechaun theme. I don't think we hear it ever again. If I'm not mistaken, we don't ever hear that theme again. But it is an iconic theme. If you're a horror fan, it's right up there with Puppet Master and Reanimator. These indie horror themes are so iconic, and the Leprechaun deserves a place in that grouping. So I gave that an 8 out of 10. Sound design was fine, perfectly fine, nothing great, nothing shocking, 6.5. Camera and lighting, 6.5, only because I had no complaints with the camera work in this movie. A few shots were a little too dark for my personal liking, especially when you've displayed the ability to show me hard shafts of light in a dark room. If you can do it once, you could do it again. Give me some degree of lighting in every shot. Don't make it too dark. Editing, I gave it a 7. Nothing bothered me. It looked pretty good. And overall enjoyability, highest score of the franchise, strong 9 from me. I fucking love the original Leprechaun. I think you should go watch it. I would put it on any horror list today, and I would recommend it all of the time. Denise, tell us about your thoughts on Leprechaun. Overall score, my popcorn bucket is pretty full at a strong 70.5 out of 100 for my rating.
All right. So you said 75?
Mm-hmm.
I gave this
70.5.
Oh, 70.5.
70 and a half.
I gave the script a 7 because I thought for the fucking idea of a killer leprechaun running around, I thought it was great. Acting, I gave an 8. I know there were a couple of side actors. You said you didn't like TJ, but overall, everything for me for the main actors was very believable. Nothing was overdone. I think it was very well communicated by the actors. Special effects, I gave a 7. Everything was good. The visual effects for the time were good. Were fine for me. Wardrobe, I gave an 8. I think that the couple of changes for Jennifer Aniston were good. It told me everything I needed to know about the characters beyond what we saw on the screen. Music, I gave an 8. Sound, an 8. No issues there. Camera and lighting, I gave an 8. I think I must have missed those couple of shots that you're talking about, TJ. But I mean, when I was looking at it, I was like, damn, this is actually really well done. Again, I was very surprised. Editing, I gave a 7. I didn't have any issues with it, but I also didn't. The point is to not notice, but also when you do notice it in a good way, that means it's exceptional. And so that we're there.
Yeah, you're talking like a 10 is like Children of Men. Like, you know what I mean? Like Oscar caliber editing.
Or like that fucking single shot in The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
Where you're like, That's actually more camera work, but once they get past that, like that single shot plus everything else, and you're like, yeesh, that's gorgeous. Yeah. Or like we were just talking about it, TJ, in The Greatest Showman, how they switch seamlessly from musical scenes to starting the next scene. That's done very well.
Yeah, agreed.
And then overall enjoyability, I gave it an 8. I thought it was great. I had really no major complaints about it. So overall, it's a 76 for me.
76, strong score. Glenn, tell us about how you scored Leprechaun.
Since this is our first ranking system, I'm sure later on the in our whatever road down this.
In our journey.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. These might amend, but I think TJ and I talked about this a little bit, like, and Denise, that if there was nothing glaringly bad, 7 is where we landed, because for like average to good. Anyways, just to give context, I thought the script was like a 6, though. Actually, after Denise's, the originality of like a killer leprechaun is actually pretty great. I like that idea. It should have gotten higher in this. So
keep going. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right then. I thought the acting was a 7. I said earlier I'm not a huge Jennifer Aniston fan, but I thought she was the best in this. Though I did like her in Along Came Polly, which is a weird reference that no one probably knows what I'm talking about.
I mean, I know that movie, but interesting. It is a departure from her usual character type. That's probably why.
It is. Special effects, I gave a 7.5.
I keep forgetting we can use like quarters and halves.
Yeah, I'm not going to ever do quarters because math. I'm conflicted if I'm right here or not, in that the makeup effects were truly really good. I mean, they weren't making pumpkin heads here or anything. So it wasn't like Stan Winston was on this like being fucking insane and a genius and a trailblazer, but like truly very good makeup effects. And I'll say that because I'm friends and a former roommate with actually some very talented makeup effects artists. And I've heard them talk about how good Leprechaun was. Because we grouped these together, I think the optical effects were rather good, because, I mean, granted, like TJ alluded to earlier, I watch a lot of shit, weird, obscure movies that shouldn't be shown, and you're going to have to listen to me talk about later in the series.
Oh shit, Austonia Night. Thanks, man.
Oh, thanks, Austonia.
Austonia Night. Glenn, you just got a gift subscription from Austonia Night.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Welcome to the Sub Club. Ooh, is Sub Club a thing? That's fun. I like Sub Club. Anyway.
Is that what Subway used to call it?
Oh, shit, I think it is. It's the punch card.
Oh, God.
It was.
I think you're absolutely
when
right.
They used to have fucking newspapers on the wall.
Subscription! I love that Austonia Night calls that out in text and chat every time. It's so good.
That's great. Well, thank you.
Now you're really making him uncomfortable, Austonia.
Yeah.
Glenn can't accept gifts or compliments.
I can't. Yeah. The empty chasm in my chest where the heart should be is doesn't know what to do. Special effects. I thought the optical effects were actually pretty good.
Agreed.
I think I said this earlier about like how Cormans of the era or even slightly earlier were just like,
yeah,
which I love. Don't get me wrong, and I'll make people watch them. I thought the production design was a 7, which, as I said earlier, was like baseline good. They were smart about not going to too many places. It was a good set house set, I think is what I meant to say there. But like the basement set was really good. Like,
yeah,
nothing was glaringly like, what the fuck is going on here?
Cobwebs are a tough thing to do in a movie. Man, don't be fooled. When you see cobwebs in a movie in a dusty basement or a haunted crypt or a mummy's tomb, that is a fucking art form. And there's guns and stuff for it now that you can spray with a compressor. But back in the day, man, that's all hand pulled. That's some A-level fucking production design. Kudos to everyone who did that back in the day.
It's true. If you do want a cheap and dirty way to do, why am I going on this? Cobwebs, you can, I do not recommend this because it makes a fucking mess and it's a fire hazard. A hot glue gun in front of a high-powered hair dryer actually works.
That's what those guns are basically. The web guns are basically that. Just
and they're
from the
awesome.
back instead of the front.
But also just buy one of those because they're fucking cool as shit.
Yeah, hell yeah, they
are. Yeah. Anyways, production design was a 7 because it was a dilapidated house, and that's exactly where they were, and it worked.
Yep.
Same with wardrobe. Nothing egregious, like 4. I thought the music was very good. TJ's much more of a music aficionado than I am, and I think you're right. The theme is pretty great there. So I should have downgraded the other ones, but I didn't.
I don't think anything makes it past the 6 for me beyond this one.
That's fair.
Except for 5.
That's fair. Sound design, I gave a 6.5. There was a few like canned things that I heard, but not nearly as bad as other ones. Camera lighting, I thought was 8. I think the opening shot I think it's the first shot when the leprechaun's sitting on the stairs and he's like counting his gold, and there's like a shaft of light that's like actually a rainbow. I thought it was actually pretty beautiful and like maybe the best shot in the series.
It's that DP shot. It's the one that the DP gets. Every DP
on his reel
in a movie gets a shot for his reel. Like if you ever watched Hell House LLC, it's the shot in the field. You know, it's and Baby Frankenstein's the fish tank shot. If you ever go through and watch that, you'll know exactly what shot the DP was like. I'm going to shoot this from outside through the fish tank, and this is for my reel, and that's exactly what happened.
It's true, but it's a great shot. Outside of, it's just a great shot. Anyways, editing, I gave an 8, which I think probably is a little high, but I didn't see anything wrong. So why not? Out of the enjoyability meter, I gave it a 7 because it is definitely rewatchable. It does fall into the trope of like, unfortunately, you really should only watch it in March. But if you want to watch it whenever you want to, fuck it, why not?
Fuck it.
I think it's second or third most watchable of the series, which is a lot higher than a lot. It's probably going to get said in our show here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was your overall score, Glenn?
71.
Nice. So that's a pretty solid score. You know, establishing like a 7 as not the mathematical baseline, but pretty much all deciding that a 7 is pretty fucking good. Like, you know, if you landed 7s across the board, that's like that's pretty much going to be like a rock solid, pretty good movie. You should definitely watch that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I had seen this before, and I honestly thought I was going to be like 10 points lower.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be more critical of it.
Yeah, same here.
I did too.
Yeah, I agree. And again, we're all learning here. Like this is like you said, Glenn. Like we're going to be watching movies. This is regular programming on Channel 29. You know, so it's going to be interesting to see how this our first step into the pond of reviewing horror movies goes. Because again, like I always use Event Horizon as my example because I think Event Horizon is a near perfect film, you know, that's a tough thing to hold next to this. So it'll be interesting to see how we evolve in our scores. But speaking of evolving, Leprechaun 2.
But then, that being said, there's also like, there's a 10 in our eyes for horror, there's a 10 for fantasy, and they probably won't match up to each other, but we should be able to understand that it's all subjective and in the moment. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
What I'm trying to say?
And I think to elaborate on what you're saying, Denise, is that everyone, art as a whole is going to be interpreted by every person that views it. You know, you can walk in a museum and look at a Warhol painting with 20 different people, and all 20 of them are likely to have a different experience. And that's okay. That's what's beautiful about the world of horror, is that the community that loves horror movies is so vast and it's so accepting. Like, we all get it. Like, we've been to parties with horror directors where we've gotten to hang out with people, like we're friends with horror directors. Like the respect for the genre is so high across the board that even if you make a shitty movie, you still got it done. And it's like that in of itself is noteworthy, and anyone that makes any art out there in the world, horror or other, should always be extremely proud and excited that you were brave enough to put your imagination out into the world. And kudos to you, except if you're Leprechaun 2, which is what we're going to talk about right now. That movie was a dumpster fire and deserves to be buried like the E.T. video game. No, I kid you, it's not that bad, but it's my lowest score, I think, of the franchise.
It's rough.
I'll go through these pretty quick because there's not a ton to talk about. I gave the script a 3. It's not great. I gave the acting a 2. It's really bad. Special effects, the Warwick Davis makeup carries this entire movie with a 4. Production design is a 3 because it's a lot of existing locations. There's nothing crazy special about it. And when you do see something that looks like it was a built set, it's very minimalistic production design, like stock photos of race cars and things in shitty dollar store frames. It's not great. Wardrobe 5, average. Nothing bothered me about it from the genre or from the era, and Warwick Davis' costume continued to impress. Music was a 4, sound was a 4, camera and lighting was a 4, editing was a 4. Overall, it was all just below average. It didn't look like a cheap movie necessarily. It didn't sound like a cheap movie necessarily. It had the technical side of things, for the most part, dialed in to an acceptable level, but it just wasn't. It was almost like they weren't terribly trying, and that's why it got below average. Overall enjoyability, I gave it a 5. Just because I'm probably going to watch it again when I watch the series next year for St. Patrick's Day, but I'm not going to love it. It's a labor of commitment to the series. Overall score 38 out of 100. That you can't see the popcorn coming out of the bucket at that point. It's on the lower tier. There's a lot of kernels you're going to break your tooth on at that level. It's not going to be a super great experience, but you do it because every once in a while you're going to pull a popped kernel from that bottom that's got all the butter in it and all that deliciousness, and that's the one you're going to hang on to, for the most part. But Glenn,
Flavicol.
Yeah, Glenn, tell me about your rankings here. What did you feel on Leprechaun 2?
I actually pretty sure this is going to bite me later because I went higher than you did, and I don't disagree with anything you said. So I went with a 4 on the script. I actually liked the origin story aspect, and then the rest of it I was just like, I don't fucking care. I thought the acting got like a 3.5. It was pretty terrible. I honestly gave it a full extra point because Clint Howard showed up.
Oh shit, you're right. Clint Howard did show up. That deserves some recognition.
And I feel bad. I can't remember the old man's name.
Morty's name?
Yes, he was great. And there's like an old woman who was just like, "Get the fuck off my lawn," and I was like, "I actually love you. That's great."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when she came out of her house.
She's like, "Get that." Yeah, whatever she was doing, it was great. The rest of it was not good. I thought the special effects were not super far off, but that could have been I wasn't paying attention, so I gave that like a 7. which I think is probably too high. Production design, I gave a 5, but I wanted to give it a 4, but I actually really liked that fucking car.
That's the only thing that got it to a 4 for me.
And that's not fair because like beyond like movies, food, and beer, like cars are my other thing. So like a Death Race 2000 go-kart to me was like point.
Sure.
It's like the world's. It looked like the Mario Kart that Bowser would have driven.
It did. It also actually looked like a Death Race 2000 car.
Yeah.
But made of shit. The wardrobe, I didn't really see a difference, which I think was actually probably worse, is where I'm not great about this score. I gave it a 7, which it probably shouldn't be on par with the first. The music didn't really strike me as too terrible, but again, maybe I wasn't harping on it too much.
I think I deducted a lot of points because I didn't hear anything that stuck with me.
That's fair. That's fair. So like I gave it a 6, which I still think is way too high. I guarantee in like a month you're gonna be like, fucking Leprechaun 2 should be 80 points lower. Sound design, I gave it a 5, which is like a point and a half lower. It was hokier, like they used more like canned sounds.
Yeah.
The camera and lighting, I thought was a 6, which is like a full point lower than I think bass is. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
I gave editing again the same, a 6. Like nothing was like holy fuck, like you should have edited that. Enjoyability, I gave it a 5, which I think is a point higher than I should have, but I give it credit because like I think it was trying to lean into its, like I said, the campy, like punny nature. It wasn't quite landing it.
Yeah.
But I give it props for trying, but also it wasn't good. So it's like well below good.
What's your overall score? How high up is the popcorn bucket filled for you, Glenn?
55.4, which I believe is too high.
About halfway full, but with a lot of regret. Denise,
yeah,
tell us about how much popcorn sit in your bucket for Leprechaun 2.
Not a whole hell of a lot, TJ. So
rightly
script,
so.
I gave it a 3. Acting, I gave it. I was at a 3, then I dropped to 2, but then brought me up to 3 again because I forgot about him. Effects, I gave it a 3, and then here we go. We start to color. We start to realize that sometimes overall enjoyability can start to color and maybe skew your vision. Like maybe I wasn't looking as fairly at these individual as at these individual what the fuck is the word I'm looking for?
Pieces.
Categories.
You're absolutely right, because that, like, listening to Glenn and yours already, just your thoughts on the process guarantees that a lot of my scores were colored by the fact that my enjoyability of the movie was so low.
I definitely, there were so many things that made me angry that I think it's like, you know what? I mean, special effects, Warwick Davis's makeup was great. I don't remember anything being terrible, but I gave it a 3. Right? Production design 3, wardrobe a 3. I was really angry at that cheap ass gown that he had her in the horrible cave. That gown made me very angry because it was like the cheapest material. It was like barely trying, right?
Yeah.
Music, I gave it a 3 for no particular reason. Nothing stuck out at me. You know what I mean? Like by all accounts, for what we're saying, it should be like a 7 or a 6. Sound, I gave it a 2 because I think I recall there being really bad sound in this movie.
There are a few times where, like, as someone who dabbles, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
A lot
Camera
of,
lighting.
a lot of it seemed like it wasn't coming from the actors in the moment.
Right.
A lot of ADR, dude. You can't shoot a fucking
Bad
movie
ADR,
on Hollywood Boulevard in the middle of a day and expect to get any usable audio. That was all ADR in those scenes.
And ADR is also in and of itself
an art.
Like, and
yes.
that is
yes.
For those who don't know, TJ, what do the acronyms stand for? Do you know?
I have no idea. After
do you know,
dialogue
Glenn?
recording, maybe.
So basically, if you have dialogue on set that isn't usable, you have too much interference, you have to go back into the studio and record and match yourself up to what you're saying in the original.
It's hard to do.
It's very hard.
It's one of the first things I had to do in Hollywood as an actor. I was cast in a movie to do ADR for several characters. It's fucking hard to do.
And not only do you have to do that well as an actor, match up to your own cadence of the lines, in turn, the sound editor has to take what is called room tone or wild sound of the area, so it doesn't sound like you're speaking in a vacuum. It has to match the environment sound with your ADR and marry it together so it sounds like it actually came from that person in that moment.
Dude, and that's the importance of a good post sound mixer, man. Those guys are wizards, dude. Post people are fucking wizards. Like whether it's SFX or straight editing or sound design. Like they all deserve their place in the Oscar categories because without them, movies would be trash. They'd all be trash.
Yeah. So sound, I gave it 2. Camera and lighting, I gave a 4. Editing 4. Enjoyability, I gave a 2 because it angered me. The cave drove me up the wall.
It was the mountains of madness.
Like so mad. So overall, this is a 30 for me.
Yeah, that cave was a Lovecraftian horror for you, Denise. It was it drove you seriously mad, almost to the brink, almost to giving up. But like all good Las Vegas stories, you didn't give up. You let it ride, baby. You put all your chips on the table and you took yourself all the way to the bright lights and big city of Las Vegas, Nevada for Leprechaun 3, where we find ourselves starting to climb back up the ranks. Myself, personally, on the script, I gave it a 5. It was pretty good. I was still recovering from Leprechaun 2 when we watched this, so Glenn, I'm kind of the flip side on this one, as you were on 2. I probably should have given this a bit better scores, but I was working from such a deficit after Leprechaun 2 that some of these probably deserve better scores than they got. Acting, I gave a strong 5 to. Special effects, strong 5. Production design, strong 5. Wardrobe, strong 5. Again, like just to talk on production design, you want to make sure your frame is full. It's part of the game. You look into oh hey, what's up, Ergoth? You look into like something like a Relics and Rarities that Denise and I produced that Glenn was on as well. And you look at the antique shop and how well that is fleshed out. There's not a spot that doesn't feel like it doesn't belong, and there's not a spot that doesn't feel like it's overdressed or underdressed. Leprechaun 2 failed at that.
Shout out to Brad Bailey and Denise Pantoja on that.
Yes, 100% on that.
And Brad's crew.
Oh yeah, Brad's whole team. But like I thought the production design had improved greatly, but was not up to snuff with bigger movies, so it got an average score of a 5. A lot of things did. Music, I thought, made a bit of a comeback. The score was a bit better. Sound was a 6 for me.
Subscription.
Subscription. Sound was a 6. Camera lighting gave a 5.5. Again, I have a hard time reconciling movies that make things a little hard to see sometimes. But again, I'd probably give that another point if I rewatched it without watching the second one before it. Editing a 5. But once again, this wild card score that we all have, this ace in the hole, this game changer score where nothing really got high marks for me in this movie. The overall enjoyability was an 8. That's only 1 point lower than the first one and a whole 3 points higher than the second, absolutely would recommend. 8 out of 10 would hard recommend that if you're going to watch these movies, go back. Jesus, go back. Oh God, go back and watch this movie. It's one of the better ones in the franchise. 56.5. Over halfway full popcorn bucket is for me on this one. Denise, where do you stand on the bright lights and big city of Leprechaun in Vegas?
Script, I got a 6. Acting, I have a 5. Although I think I was a bit harsh. I think I could probably go up on that. Special effects, I actually just changed that. I gave that an 8 because of the
Sex
bot,
robot.
because of my favorite scene with the lips and the butt and the boobs and the makeup. I think that it deserves way more than I had originally given it. Production design and wardrobe, I gave 6s to. They were good. Music and sound both get 5s. Camera and lighting gets a 6. Editing gets a 5. I might have been too harsh on that one too. It could probably go up. And overall enjoyability was an 8 for me. So as it stands, it's a 60 right now. I thought it was a fun one.
And that's the thing to remember about this specific episode, this premiere episode of the show, is we're not ever doing 5 of these again. This was a big, like special episode we're doing for St. Patrick's Day for fun, because we're not going to be reviewing any Leprechaun movies throughout the year. This is the only time this is happening. So, so like take that into account, that the day's going on. We've had some drinks. We've had some corned beef hash and potatoes. Some corned beef potatoes.
Precious.
Still
so
didn't make 4 good though.
It does. It doesn't. We're about to talk about that. But Glenn, tell us about your experience. We know this is probably your favorite of the franchise. What is your thoughts on Leprechaun 3?
So I'll make it quick. Most of these are on par with the first, which I think was probably the best. So I gave it a 6, which is the same as 1. I gave it for script, 6, the same as the first movie. I gave it a 7 in acting, the same as the first movie. Special effects, I gave it actually the same special effects, because the crazy plastic surgery death scene, like in my mind, like lives up with Freddy Krueger.
Oh yeah.
In some of their better death scenes.
Yeah.
And like, I hate to keep saying this, but like that fucking sex robot out of nowhere was actually super well done. Same score as 7.5. Production design, I gave the same as part 1 at a 7. Again, it might be a rebound effect with all these scores after 2, because it was all just fucking just really red hemorrhoids in part 2. I don't know why I said that. Wardrobe, I gave a 7, again, like the first movie. The music, I gave half a point less. I thought it was like a full point better than the music of part 2, but not quite as good as the first. Sound design, exactly the same as the first one. Camera and lighting, half a point less than the first one at a 7.5. I thought it was a little cheaper looking, but like on the flip side, they also had like 18 times more sets than they did on part 1 that they had to light.
Yeah.
Editing, I gave the exact same number as the first one, as an 8.0. My enjoyability, I gave a 7.5, which was the highest by half a point of the entire series that we watched. I think the third is my favorite of them.
Makes sense.
So that's where I am on 3.
You do love a good Vegas buffet, Glenn. And
I do.
Speaking of Vegas buffets, let's dive into the epic space opera of a buffet that is Leprechaun in space.
In space.
Oh boy. Leprechaun 4 in space.
Rip the Band-Aid off, man.
Yeah, script, I gave it a 2. It's trash. The acting is 3.5. It's for the most part trash, save the lead female protagonist and the chrome-domed general. He was pretty good. He was like a discount Arlie Emery with a metal head. Special effects 4.5. There was some decent practical stuff in there. Again, the Leprechaun makeup, star of the show. Production design 5. I gave it a 5, and it's the highest score of the piece. Nothing gets above a 5 in this for me because I love good low budget production design. I think if you can use what you can go find at Home Depot and make it look like the future, that's fucking awesome and kudos to you. But also they snuck in a couple Easter eggs into some of the vacuum forms of this movie. There's a Millennium Falcon in this movie. It's baked into what I can only assume is the vacuum form of one of the walls. There was another one that I can't remember, but I think I spotted during the movie. But I gave that a 5.
There are definitely 2 in the trivia section. It says there are 2.
Wardrobe was a 5 because, listen, future Space Marine shit is hard. You know, whatever your budget is, it's going to be hard. I think Starship Troopers probably did it better than anyone. But this was not that. This was what you can find in Army Surplus with a couple rollerblade pads, and kudos to them for doing it. Average of 5. Music was 4. It's not meant for the feature. It's a TV series. It's terrible. Sound 3, hot trash all over the place. Camera and lighting 3, not great. Editing 4, super not great. Overall enjoyability, gave it the same grade that I gave 2, which is a 5. If you're a fan of the franchise and you're a fan of the character of the Leprechaun, it's worth checking out just to see Warwick Davis do what he does best. And spit some space themed limericks into the universe. I think that's pretty good. Gave it a 39. Kernels of popcorn in my bucket, below the halfway point. But you know, not quite as bad as Leprechaun 2. It was a whole point better. Wow. Instead of a 38, it got a 39, and that's that.
Damn.
Denise, Glenn, who wants to speak up on Leprechaun 4 in space first? Who would like to go first here?
I'll go. Fuck
go
it.
Hit it, Glenn.
I gave the script a 3. It's the worst of the bunch by a lot. That might be generous. No offense to whoever wrote the Apollo 13 spoof.
Best you could with what you got. Yeah, you got to stuff the Leprechaun in your Apollo 13 spoof. Kudos to you.
Again, don't spoof Apollo 13. What the fuck? Acting 4, which I think is like 5 points too generous. Special effects. Man, I must have been drunk when I made these. I gave it a 4. It should have been like a -2. Like, I don't want to call out shows from the 90s, but like things that sound like Blue Dwarf and Blam Dramata Strain, like had better effects in the era. Like, good God. Like these were fucking Windows 95 screensavers. Fucking garbage.
Amen.
That's not, though I gave it a 4 because Warwick Davis's makeup effects were still pretty decent. And I'll give the fucking dude on the jazzy, his like half human, half android prosthetic piece wasn't terrible. Half of the scenes you couldn't see the seams that well, and then other times you could. So it got a 4 when it should have got a 2. Okay. Production design, I gave it a 4. The sets were shit. I gave it an extra point because of the Millennium Falcon kudos thing that they put in there. And I'll give them also credit because they did build a lot of sets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I know they fucking stretched their budget a fuck ton there.
Yeah, there was a lot of Home Depot in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Home Depot. A lot of dryer pipe.
Like, a lot of vacuum form.
Yeah.
A lot of vacuum form. The production is, wardrobe, I gave a 5 because it was okay, I guess. I don't know. The music, I give it 5, which is the lowest I've ever given. It was shit can music again, like Blue Dwarf and Balamdramata Strain. Sound design, fucking 4. It was just there is some stock like space shit sound.
Yeah.
Like I had this shitty thing when I was a kid growing up. I had like a computer that had Windows 95, and it just like had sound effects you could hit. Like if you just hit a button, it was like, like literally the same sound. Anyways, camera and lighting, I gave a 5, which I think is 2 points too much. Like again, 90s terrible TV show, awful shit.
Yeah.
Editing a 5 because I didn't find anything hyper terrible. Enjoyability a 4, which I think is generous. The note I put here, I would have given it a 3, but the last 30 minutes, which should have been 10 minutes, because this is the largest problem with this movie, it's an hour and a half long. It should have been 70 minutes, and it would have been much better. The last 30 minutes make up quite a bit of ground for the first hour and 10. I think it's also the longest in the series for some stupid fucking reason.
Oh, amazing.
Is that the one that I literally said after it was over, oh my God, that was only an hour and a half?
Yeah, it felt like an eternity.
I think it's the longest of the 5.
Ooh.
Anyways, like the last 30 minutes, I love a movie that just fully Amtraks their shit off the rails. That was.
Oh God. Go ahead, Glenn. Keep going.
Yeah, just fully goes off the rails like they shouldn't. And that movie really did it.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. The large Leprechaun, fucking amazing. I'm not gonna like hate nudity, but like it literally had no point.
Yeah.
It was just all of a sudden just like, and it was just like, what? That served literally no purpose.
Yeah.
Except for extra money. Sometimes you get extra money.
Yeah.
For the boobs.
I hope she got paid extra money. I'm not sure.
No, not her.
The movie will you'll find financiers.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You put some nudity in every 15 minutes, you get an extra $250,000 for a movie. Different market.
I've seen a lot of shit B movies, so many, and I've never seen shoehorned nudity like that. Literally ever.
She's like, look.
And she doesn't explain it. It's just like, this does a thing for something. And it's just like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Glenn, remind me, did you go your overall enjoyability about this one yet? I can't remember what that was.
I didn't. I'm sorry. It's the lowest score of a 42.
Oh, wow. 42 is pretty low.
Which is better than yours.
Denise, tell us about your experience in the deep, dark depths of space where no one can hear you scream about how bad this movie was.
I gave the script a 2, baby. I gave the acting a 2, but then you know what? I bumped it up to 4 because I love Miguel Nunez Jr., who you may also remember as Demon in Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, and Spider in The Return of the Living Dead. He's a treasure. And, there were a couple other people that were decent too, but...
Wait, that was...
fuck did he go?
Spider? Oh, no. I didn't realize that.
He's gone.
He is.
Special effects, I gave a 3. I gave 4s to production design and wardrobe. Yay for the Millennium Falcon. 1, 2, 3, 4. And everything else got a 3, including enjoyability.
Whoa.
So that total, because of Miguel Nunez Jr., would have tied with part 2. But you know what? I need to give some appreciation to that man. 32. The total was 32.
This is surprising. I'm not gonna lie. Like before we started this, I thought I was gonna be the harshest on things that I didn't bring to the table, and like ironically, I'm not.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised that I gave a higher score to your favorite movie. Didn't I? Wait, what was your favorite?
3.
What was your total score?
A 70.5, half a point lower than 1.
Oh, okay, no. The overall enjoyability, I gave a higher score too. So TJ, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, for the last half, I gave all 3s to. The total was a 32. It was originally a 30, but I gave 2 extra points because I love Miguel Nunez Jr. I don't know if you heard me. That's Demon from Friday the 13th, New Beginning.
Ooh, oh yeah, baby. Fantastic.
And
great
and he was
actor.
Spider in the Return of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah, no, like a horror icon actor.
He's like, a fucking delight. So like, I gave 2 extra points.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. 32 is a solid score for the 4th of the franchise. But what it isn't is a rap-fueled musical masterpiece known as Leprechaun in the Hood, the 5th of the franchise. I've started all these. Glenn, I want to start with you this time. Let's start with you here. Leprechaun in the Hood, final movie of the marathon. Tell us about it, Glenn.
Yeah, all right. This is actually the movie that I gave the highest of a script value to. Because I thought that it broke the mold of the other 4. Because
it's true.
Number 4 doesn't fucking count. It didn't actually. It's not a Leprechaun movie. I gave
it's fucking Laugh Olympics. It's just it's a completely different franchise with another character in it.
Whoa! I will not listen to shitting on Laugh Olympics.
No, I love Laugh Olympics. Don't get me wrong. It's the best animated series of all time. Don't get me wrong.
I Dying Tribe, I've been trying to get all that shit on DVD, can't fucking get it. It's very upsetting to me.
I'm so sorry.
My Plex will never be complete. The acting, I gave the exact same score I gave to 1 and 3. We don't have to go into the other 2 movies. I gave it a 7. Special effects, I gave it a 7, just slightly below number 1 and number 3, which were the same. I don't want to be shitty, but it probably should be a little lower because, like you alluded to earlier, there was a lot of implied violence and gore. Mm-hmm. Though there was the blowout. It was the preacher, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Where he blew like a full-on hole through him.
Yeah.
That was Ice-T's dude, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
Someone got their shit blown out.
I rewatched it today. It was Ice-T's buddy towards the end.
Yeah.
Oh, well, damn. All right. Either way, I think that was the best gore, but it wasn't like sawed in half. It wasn't.
It's true.
Yeah.
Sex robot. It wasn't.
It was the big FX gag of the movie.
And it wasn't nearly the others.
Yeah.
And I don't think there were many, if any, optical effects. Production design, I gave a 6, which was a point lower than the other 2 top rated. I don't think they really did a whole lot, but I give them credit in that I truly felt like I was in 90s LA.
Yeah,
it's true.
Mainly because they shot in 90s LA. I gave Wardroom a 7, which I gave the other 2 top contenders of the series. I gave the music an 8, which is the highest by a full point of the entire series because it wasn't the score, I guess, but the like diegetic music was clearly the best because it actually was fucking awesome. The sound design, I gave a 7, which is actually half a point higher than anything else. Basically, probably the same reason. Camera and lighting, I gave a 7, which is about on par with the other 2 high ones. It seemed very of its time, like SoCal hood movies, I guess, if you wouldn't call them something else.
Yeah, it is called Leprechaun in the Hood. So,
right, like overly yellow, very sunny, dusty looking cinematography.
Yeah, absolutely, I get that.
Which like we haven't stopped doing until like 5 years ago. If you want to be honest about filmmaking. Editing, I gave a 7, which is I think a point lower than the highest. I don't recall because I didn't take a good note on this, but I think there was a few times where like the editing it just didn't sync up as well as it should have. And I think probably some of that was me being harsh on them cutting away from the violence.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say the violence, the gore.
The gore, yeah.
I gave it enjoyability a 7, which is exactly what I gave part 1 and half a point lower than I gave point 3, which brings it to a total of 69.5.
Oh, wow.
Which is only half a point lower than the first and a full point lower than the third.
That's interesting, but not surprising, to be honest. You know, I think regardless of what our scores are all going to be here, we're probably all going to see a trend of every other movie being, you know, a little closer to its predecessor. Denise, what were your thoughts on Leprechaun in the Hood? How did you feel overall with this movie? Tell us about your scores.
So we've got 6s for acting and script. I changed my script because I agree with you, Glenn. I don't know if we're supposed to change after the fact, but I did it.
Totally.
I liked that
I did too.
It moved away from the typical.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Special effects and production design got 5s because there wasn't very much special effect action. Production design, excuse me, it was lacking in some places. Like when they're at the church, it's like it's a room. You know what I mean? There were a couple things that bothered me, and they moved to a lot of different places, so I think they just had to like really keep things very, very slim in that respect. Let's see, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wardrobe and music, 6 for wardrobe, 7 for music. I got sound a 6 for camera and lighting, and a 6 for editing. It was very mid-road for me for those couple things. And then enjoyability, I gave a 7. So overall, that's a 52 for me. It's the third most enjoyable, but it's actually, I mean, I'd watch it again. So I feel like maybe I judged it a bit harshly looking at the scores, but I'd watch it again for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting to go through this process. Oh, what's this? Marks. Subscribe with Prime. Thank you, Marks.
Thank you.
Or Marks to the 4th power, as we'll probably call you moving forward. But welcome to the 29ers, Marks. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Hope you're enjoying the show. Yeah, so Leprechaun 5 for me has always had a nice carved out spot in my heart.
Soft spot for you?
Yeah. You know, like this was one of the first movies I think I picked up when I started working at Blockbuster. You know, which was really cool. I gave the script a 6. I thought it was pretty smart for what it was to take a franchise that has been very typical and put it in a brand new setting and give it a brand new flavor. I thought it was really clever. The acting was a 7 for me. I thought it was pretty darn good. I have a funny story I'll tell real quick about one of the actors named Red Grant, who was in this movie as kind of the comic relief. He's a stand-up comedian.
Who's the smart guy?
Yeah. So I met Red Grant when I first moved to Hollywood at a Tower Records in Hollywood. And I remember standing behind him in line as we were getting ready to pay for our albums. And I just I tapped him on the shoulder and I was like, "Hey man, are you Red Grant from Leprechaun in the Hood?" And he's like, "Hell yeah, I'm Red Grant from Leprechaun in the Hood. What's your name?" And I was like, my name's TJ. He's like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm trying to be next." He's like, "You should be in one of my movies." And Red Grant and I became friends for 4 years, where we would randomly email or text each other to see what we were doing. We were trying to get something going together, but I was 18 and didn't know how to make a movie yet. But I think
to call Red Grant.
I think I will someday. I think Red Grant is a really funny guy. I think he's a talented actor. I think he's an even better stand-up comedian. But that's my big Hollywood story about Red Grant and Leprechaun.
He was actually really enjoyable in that film.
Yeah, he's a fun guy. He's a fun actor, and it was good stuff. So yeah, 7 for acting for me in that category. Special effects I gave 4 too because the lack of special effects really bothered me. I think if you've got a historically gory franchise, the second you pull away from that, it immediately shows its stripes as we ran out of money. We couldn't afford to put good effects on the screen. Um, Production design I gave 5 to, mostly because Denise, similar to you, the church scene was rough. That lost the whole point. But, production design isn't always about, making the room, an empty room, look full. Sometimes it's about finding the right place for the movie, and I think it did that pretty well here. Wardrobe, I gave a 5 to. It was all very basic, t-shirts, jeans. Aside from the 70s stuff with Ice-T and Ice-T's wardrobe, and listen, to be honest, you know what?
True.
Live here on camera, I'm going to change my score. I'm changing wardrobe to a 6, and I'll tell you why. There was a parallel that I'm now just remembering between Ice-T's hero costume after when he's Mac Daddy and he's officially the lead baddie, and the Leprechaun's costume. There is this strange similarity between the two. I'm fairly certain there's shades of green in his costume. There is something about his outfit that is a bit deeper, I think, than what we were led to believe. So I'm going to bump that to a 6. Music I gave an 8 to because, listen, the rap lyrics in that movie and the overall music wasn't super great, but putting up that much music in a non-musically defined 5th movie in a franchise of a B- level horror franchise is fucking impressive. And again, as like, I guess, the resident music guy in the group, respect to the composer and whoever put all that shit together. Like, it's a tough thing to do, and you did it in character, and it was, I thought it was pretty great. It's very memorable. It's a very memorable part of the movie. Sound design I gave a 6 to. Nothing bothered me about it, but it wasn't particularly great. Camera lighting gave a 6 to. Again, it didn't super wow me, but it didn't bother me either. Editing again gave a 6 to. It probably would have been a 7 if we didn't cut away from the gore so much. I get that that's not the editor's job necessarily, but it bothered me, so that's what took the hit. Overall enjoyability, I gave it a 7, which is number 3 on the list for me. Leprechaun 1 being my number 1, Leprechaun 3 being my number 2, and Leprechaun 5 being my number 3. I 10 out of 10 would recommend going back and watching it for sure. Leprechaun in the Hood is great. Overall score of 61, putting it firmly at, again, the number 3 position. I'm sorry, the number 2 position overall behind Leprechaun 1, Leprechaun 3 being in 3rd position for me, just because I like that this movie it's funny, marks. Overall it's an okay movie that was exceptional at delivering a story that was so far out of the normal parameters of the movie that it warrants the respect of going to check it out. That's all I'll say on that, but it's one of my favorites of the franchise. So all in all, I mean, we've got these 5 movies. We've walked through scoring them. We've discussed our rankings, and ultimately, I think we can all agree on the fact that the Leprechaun franchise is a fun set of movies that has a not too unpredictable pattern of a lot of red wines. Every other year is good, and that's where we find ourselves. Leprechaun 1, pretty stellar. Everyone really excited about it. For me, it's my number 1 because let's take a second to talk about why your number 1 is your number 1. For me, the original Leprechaun does something that is indicative of a good franchise, and that's set up the franchise. Like, independent film, low budget, great quality for what it was good enough to kick off an 8 or 9 movie franchise. So it gets my number 1 slot because respect. Like, mad respect to Leprechaun, the people who made that franchise go. Mad respect to Warwick Davis and the rest of the cast of that movie for taking what could be very much viewed as a very silly concept and turning it into something truly scary. So that's my number one. Denise, tell us about why your number one is your number one.
Number one, I would say, is my number one because it did manage to satisfy all of the categories without being ridiculous. It's a horror movie about a killer leprechaun, and even though some of it was ridiculous, it didn't go, I'm glad it found its voice eventually, but it didn't go too far out the gate immediately. So that's why I enjoyed one the most.
That's great. Glenn, what about you, man? What was your, I think we determined number 3 is your favorite, but tell us about what made your number one your number one.
Yeah, like ironically, my number scores say that number one has the highest score, but number 3 is actually my favorite. Yeah, I think it's basically that it took what 1 built upon, what 2 tried to do but failed, and I think basically was the culmination of what they were trying to do and got there before they got to final form in 5.
Mm-hmm.
Even though 5 isn't the best. But weirdly enough, if you asked me to be like, what would you watch the Leprechauns in order, how would you watch them? I would be like, 1, because you need to understand it.
Yeah.
2, to see where it could go. 3, to see where it should have gone. Or I'm sorry, 5, to see where it should have gone. And then just skip 2 and 4.
Yeah, fair enough.
You meant 3. So, okay, 1, 3, then 5. Okay.
Oh, did I misspeak?
You said 2, I think. And I was like,
God, no.
Okay.
Ooh, no. 1, 3, 5.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you're trying to make a movie about a killer leprechaun and you want to figure out how not to do it, watch 2 and 4.
Right.
But,
right.
It's been a lot of fun. Like we've gone through 5 movies on this super mega deluxe world premiere of Blood and Popcorn. I think we
won't be this long again.
It will never be this long again. This show is designed to be 90 minutes to 2 hours, but we wanted to do something special for everyone for the premiere. But I think we're going to start wrapping things up. Before we go, though, I'd love to get y'all's final thoughts on. Oh yes, marks. We very much have seen 6 through 8. And maybe we'll cover those someday. Next St. Patrick's Day, we'll cover the remainder of the franchise. But before we go here today, I'd love to just get Denise and Glenn your final thoughts on the franchise as a whole, top to bottom, bottom to top. What do you think about the Leprechaun franchise?
Okay.
Wasn't sure.
I mean, I kind of said it just a second ago, but I'll do it again. So I think 3 is the best, followed by 1, followed by 5.
Oh, I'm not talking about ranking. I'm just saying your overall thoughts on the Leprechaun franchise from a high level. What do you think? Like, would you recommend someone go through it? Not necessarily in what order, but like do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it deserves its place in horror history?
Yes, I would. I would recommend people go through it. I would say do it 1, 3, and 5. Mm-hmm. If you want more after that, then realize that you're wading into the shallow pool, and then go into 2 and 4.
Yeah.
And then if you went that far, give yourself a beer. Good work. Yeah, I think it's definitely a worthy franchise. And actually doing this tonight, I would love to see a Leprechaun versus fucking Freddy.
Oh yeah, something like 2 magic-based beings going toe to toe would be awesome.
Because can Freddy get into his dreams? Can he not?
Yeah, do leprechauns dream? What an interesting
2
question.
smartasses.
Leprechaun's dream. That sounds like a Philip K. Dick novel. Anyways, that's my take, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good take. Denise, do you have any final thoughts on Leprechauns 1 through 5 that you would like to share with the audience?
I mean, I think overall it's a fabulous franchise. It 100% deserves its place in horror history. I mean, just for the sheer volume of movies it has spawned. And I think that it is, what an iconic character. Like, he absolutely deserves a place up there with Mike and Jason and Leatherface. Like, he's not talked about enough because he is a novelty, because he's based upon a holiday, but he's a badass villain. Yep. He's great. Big fan.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what really solidifies it for me as a franchise.
Good question.
You know, if you've got a, you know, if you've got, I think it's just the Leprechaun.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, but like, you know, I think you hit the nail on the head, D. For me, I think the Leprechaun deserves his place among the Jasons and the Freddys and the iconic horror villains of the 80s and 90s. Because, you know, high body count, great effects, very memorable. You can, if you talk to someone who is a fan of the Leprechaun franchise, you know, you hear some of the catchphrases, like, and you automatically know what they sound like. Like, Warwick Davis's performance of that character is very much on point with the level of commitment and detail as a Robert Englund in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. That deserves recognition. And because of that reason, solely because of Warwick Davis's performance, the commitment to that character, the love of that character, and ultimately the morphing and growth and transition of that character into something who started out as a very, I mean, I don't want to say serious because that's the wrong word, but in the first one, what would have been a much more serious character growing into someone smoking blunts with iced tea in you know, at a Vegas rap contest. That's a pretty impressive thing to pull off. And for that reason, and more, I think the Leprechaun franchise 100% deserves its place in the annals, however you say it, annals of horror history. And yeah, I never know how to say it, but Denise, what do you got to say? You got a finger up?
I don't know when it was created as canon, but Wikipedia does have this Lubdan as his name.
Lubdan. That's
I just
interesting.
put it
I don't
in
think
chat.
it's ever.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever been said.
I mean,
if they said it in 2 or 4, I don't care.
Yeah, it might have been 2.
All right, they probably did actually say it in 2.
Yeah, Marks. That's a very different show. Annals of History is a very different show. Coming next fall to Channel 29, the Annals of History, which will explore proctology in all its various forms throughout historical time. Different show, different background, but
jokes I can't make on here.
Maybe next time. But
oh man, no, look, we're out of time.
But we're out of time. But this has been a shit ton of fun. Speaking of the Annals of History. And, you know, wow, what a way to kick off this new show.
Yeah, pinch it off, TJ.
You know what? We don't want to leave anything dangling here at the end of the show.
Oh, you're the worst.
Yeah, what an awesome way to kick it off. Thank you to everyone who stuck around this long, we've been up for almost seriously. 4 hours now. That's a hell of a premiere episode. We covered 5 movies.
Leprechaun, 5 movies.
1, 2, 3, 4 in space, 5 in the hood. All of which Warwick Davis delivered a phenomenal, noteworthy performance as the Leprechaun. And yeah, thank you, Denise. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, everyone in the house. Let's do some house cleaning here at the end. You know, if you're new to the channel, please follow the channel. That's a big help. If you have it, you know, within your means, to subscribe to the channel, it's always appreciated, never expected. But thank you for that. Thanks to the family and the 29ers in chat, who are the beat and heart of this network and why we do what we do.
Thanks, Epic and Austonian, for the subs.
Yeah, for the gift
subs.
Love. You know, everyone who supports the channel, thank you so much. You know, to be honest, Epic, I don't know what movie is going to be next week. We haven't discussed it yet.
Who's going to choose though? Can we talk about who chooses?
I think we should.
Announce it on Twitter.
Let's make this an audience participation thing. Of the 3 of us, who would like to see who vote right now in chat. Denise, TJ, and Glenn. Who do you want to see pick the movie for next week's episode? While we wrap up here, go ahead and put that in chat. But if we've got a lot of content on Channel 29. Tomorrow night, myself and Ergoth, who's in chat, Ergoth20, Davis Saunders, have This Show is Cursed, which is our RPG show, our RPG talk show, D&D talk show, where the sad truth is Davis and I have been cursed by an evil hag to talk about RPGs the rest of our days. That's going to be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on here on the channel. Monday nights, we've got Monster of the Week Through the Void, which is Monday nights, 8 p.m. with our keeper, Alex Gaston, who may or may not be still in chat. We're going to get Alex on the show at some point. Big horror fan, love Alex. And that's also got, obviously, myself, Denise in it, Shelby, Melody. That's a super dark and super fun show. Playing RPGs. Wednesday nights, we got Dead by Daylight starring our very own Denise Pantoja here, the Demogorgon herself, as she attempts to become the best ever Dead by Daylight player in the history of Dead by Daylight players. She's doing great. Thursday nights, most Thursday nights at this point, maybe Tuesday nights, we've got Bonus Round, which is our Play What You Want, When You Want, How You Want show, typically featuring myself, but we're going to have some future episodes where we're going to do Sea of Shanties and some other fully themed episodes, which would be really exciting. What's that?
Dr. Mittenhand? I'm sorry.
Thank you. I was going to say, D, this has to be you. You have to say it.
Yeah, please say it, D. Go ahead.
Dr. Mittenhand.
Oh, you can do it in German.
Yeah, come on. Do it in German.
What you mean? You want me to say my own name in German? Dr. Mittenhand.
Dr. Mittenhand?
There you go. TJ needed to do it.
It was really great.
Das ist gut.
You did a great job, Dr. Mittenhand. The 75% cyborg Dr. Mittenhand.
It would seem I'm able to speak in the whole sentences, but when we are speaking of Dr. Mittenhand, TJ is the best.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Denise. Speaking of Denise, where can we find you on the internet? Where can people who love to hear what you have to say find you on the internet so they can do more of that very thing?
My goodness. In addition to Channel 29, you can find me on twitch.tv/fractured roll on Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And you can also find me on my own channel, which is my name. All of my socials are my name, except for TikTok, which I'm gonna swing up. No, I'm gonna spin up. Spin. Anyway, I cooked right before this stream to prepare for it. I'm not entirely sure if I'm gonna make that a thing on Friday nights, but I wanted to make my corned beef and I ate it. I would show it to you. But I made brain cake pops.
Oh, they were so
and
good.
One came out perfectly. It was very exciting. But I just did spin up my new cooking show. I also play other video games very poorly or well, depending on your viewpoint.
Wait, how many cake pops did you make and only one came out?
4, because I only have one. It's a silicone brain thingy. And 3 were broken and 1 came out perfectly.
Makes sense. It all makes sense. Glenn, can people find you on the internet anywhere? Would you like to tell us where we can maybe find you posting awesome pictures of food and things?
Monsieur Foodie?
I was going to say they can. My social presence is as Spartan as the room I'm in. On Instagram, you can find me at Glenn_Akers_ because people.
Lots of underscores.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful name, Glenn, and you can find me at TJ Rotell wherever popular internets are sold. So we didn't really get a definitive answer from chat, so I'm going to roll a d6 and make this happen. 1 to 2 is me, 2 to 3, or 3 to 4 is Denise, 5 and 6 is Glenn. Let's see what the dice have to say. 1, it's me. I get to pick, and that's how we're going to go. So I will, speaking of socials, the socials are right there next, below the video. Like, look down, follow those socials, primarily Twitter, because a lot of this is done internally. We don't have a ton of money for this channel. Actually, we have no money for this channel, so
there's 0 money.
Yeah, it's all me doing a thing.
Cake pop roulette, marks.
So give those a follow, and we'll be announcing what movie we're going to do next week, probably tomorrow or Monday, or Sunday or Monday, whatever we get around to it. But I get the feeling it's going to be something very meaningful to me. I think if I'm going to pick, I'm probably going to lean towards something that is a regular favorite, something that I hold in very high regard, something that is that I've watched over and over again.
Mark's eye.
Or Lamageddon. We'll see.
Because I know what it's going to be.
Yeah. Dude, Davis, I do love the Eli Roth remake. I think it was Eli Roth did the. Was it Glenn? Was it Eli Roth did the Piranha 3D remake?
Sure wasn't. It was Alexander Aja.
Oh, you're right. Eli Roth was in it.
He was.
Yeah, he was
pretty greatly.
Yeah, great effects, great gore in that movie.
We will, I hope, watch both of those.
We're
the
gonna watch them
original
all.
and the remake, not the remake sequel.
We are going to watch every movie that's ever been made. This show is going to last forever.
It's never going to end.
It's only going to get better from here. Yeah, you know.
Estonian. We're going to watch all the Sharknadoes.
Oh, absolutely. All 5 of them.
Okay, so there will be probably maybe another show that lasts for 4 hours.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, probably.
Someday.
Does Sharknado take place on a holiday? Is like July 4th? Is that a thing?
Maybe. Shit, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know, Glenn. Glenn, what do I know?
The Sharknado franchise is a great call, though.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Maybe we'll split it up into 2 weeks. I don't know. Let's just whatever.
Asylum's got some interesting stuff.
Yes, epic.
You know, and if you ever get the chance to watch Will Wheaton get his head taken off by a shark in a plane, I mean, how are you gonna turn down decapitating Will Wheaton by a shark in a plane?
Killer Clowns, yes.
Killer Clowns is
Killer Clowns. Chiodo Brothers, anything Chiodo Brothers is gonna be great.
Speaking of beautiful fucking effects. Ooh, okay. I'm sorry, I digress.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah, so that's it. That's the show. That's the show, everybody. We'll see you next week, Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Me, Denise, and Glenn will be talking about some horror movie that you may or may not have seen. And until then, please stay safe. Don't go out in the woods alone. Don't read any books bound in human flesh. Don't conjure any nightmare demons. And dear God, most certainly do not find yourself in the middle of a Sharknado, because you will likely not survive. But until next time, we'll see you. We'll love you. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.